All right, welcome in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Hope you all had a great weekend. Monday, August 11th, as we are not in game week just yet, but will be a week from today as we continue to get things rolling, leading towards college football season. G-Mac, I know it was an active weekend for you. All over the place, it felt like, taking in sporting events.
Big old weekend. Tuscaloosa on Saturday, Braves game yesterday. Fun couple days for sure as we get ready to send the kids back to school tomorrow. So had to get it in that last weekend.
Might as well get it rolling. There were some good vibes that I saw coming out of the scrimmage for Alabama on Saturday. A couple of folks that I trust saying that things went well, that the offense looked pretty good, a couple of positions beginning to be solidified. You were there along with many others. What were some of your bigger takeaways from the Crimson Tide?
Just number one overall, feel really good about what I saw. Just first scrimmage, 9 practices in, really 8 practices, that being the 9th. It was very clean. You know, usually first scrimmage, defense is way ahead of the offense. Usually first scrimmage, it's still a work in progress offensively. You probably are going to turn it over a time or two. You're probably going to have a couple mistakes with protections, and you're going to have some busted routes and things like that. On one hand, I can count the amount of mistakes made in the game. I'm sure, look, I didn't watch the tape, but just from the layman's point of view, it looked like there were 5 instances in which the receiver and the quarterback might not have been on the same page. Looked like there were maybe, and then in addition to that, maybe a handful in which the protection wasn't super sound. Like, for it being, there was 1 busted coverage. I mean, all things considered, man, I thought it was a very, very, very strong first scrimmage. So we always talk about this. How often is the defense way in front of the offense in fall camp? At this point,
I would say a lot.
A lot.
Just because defense a lot of times is just cut loose, see ball, get ball, go attack, go find a way to make a play, and the offense kind of not all on the same page, takes a little bit longer. So, yeah, oftentimes defense way ahead.
Yeah, usually we used to get our butts kicked in the first scrimmage. And then the second scrimmage, we'd bounce back. That was like rinse and repeat. So to see the offense that far ahead of schedule was extremely encouraging, especially knowing some of the new pieces that are rolling in on that side of the ball, especially a quarterback. So we'll get into the details of the actual scrimmage itself, but I'll start with just saying really impressed with how clean the operation was, really impressed with how the guys were practicing. I mean, they were hitting, man. It really was. It was, watching it from the field, it was very impressive.
Do you feel like lack of intensity was a little bit of an issue at times for Alabama last year?
Yeah.
I feel like it was inconsistent.
Yeah.
It's like we've talked about with sort of running the ball at will. That happened late in the Missouri game. It happened late in the Wisconsin game. That didn't feel consistent. Disruption up front didn't feel consistent. So if that's something that can show up more often for this team, obviously going to give them big advantages.
I think it was very encouraging. I also noticed, too, big picture, having been around the program last year, having watched them in practice up close, having sized up the guys and talking to them and visiting with them throughout the season, they're noticeably bigger. And I'm not saying, like, look how big. No, I mean, like, in the areas in which you want them to be a little bigger, they are noticeably bigger. The running backs look absolutely enormous, like just pounding it. And Jam Miller got in on the action on that as well. Like, he had a couple of really tough runs. Very impressed with what I saw from the running backs. I feel like the end of the line of scrimmage, the edge guys look noticeably bigger. I felt like the secondary has always looked big to me. It's a big secondary for the most part, especially at corner. But I just feel like the group across the board, it just looks like they've had a really good offseason. You know what I mean? Like, on the hoof, it looks like they've had a good offseason.
No, and that can be great, specifically when depth is a concern for everybody right now. You want your guys to physically just be more ready, be more capable. Kalen DeBoer recapping the scrimmage from Tuscaloosa over the weekend.
A good scrimmage for the guys. I say it seems like every time, but I felt good about the back and forth. There's times the offense moved the ball, especially early up the field, and defense did a nice job anchoring down as the scrimmage went along. And we got into some situations at the end, some end of game stuff that I think is really important. Things that we're able to do much more and be comfortable repping those things. Doesn't mean it's perfect, but that's why we practice, and got some end of the game situations in there at the end too. So just kind of last second stuff, 7 seconds and last play of the game type thing.
And a lot of those situational items too, Greg, I almost feel like if you're able to be, I'm not going to say masterful or perfect with those, but if you're solid in some of your red zone stuff, into game stuff, that's right now in camp, you're ahead of the curve. You, especially on offense, you're feeling pretty good about that. If situational football is a strength of yours right now. And
there were throughout it, there was a couple goal line stands. Like there was a couple things that were for the defensive standpoint, like it was very impressive. I cannot tell you how impressed I was just across the board. And like he said, situationally, man, like third downs in red zone this time of year is it's you're not there yet offensively. It takes a long time to get there. That's when the field shrinks and it becomes challenging. And I thought they did a great job for the most part of just not having huge mistakes. Now, I will say this, I'm a little concerned about special teams. If I'm going to be completely honest, a couple takeaways like of concern. I am curious to see how the pecking order is ultimately going to end up at tight end. I am also a little concerned about punter and kicker. I don't know a lot about those positions. It's not one that we spent a ton of time on this offseason, but that is, I think, something that is worth monitoring at this point board. But man, I think the quarterbacks, and we'll talk about them throughout the day today. I'm just so impressed with what I saw. That's what everybody wants to hear about, right? I think we'll start with Ty. I think Ty was really decisive. I thought he looked really, really comfortable. I thought he made the play of the game, the play of the day, towards the end, where he scrambled around, showed some mobility, kept his eyes downfield, hit jam for a touchdown in the end. Like it was just he looks very in control. Now, were there a couple throws that he would have liked to have maybe had back? Sure. Like, yeah, but guess what? It's practice 9. You're going to miss a couple. It just is what it is. I guess it's a good defense too. So, there are probably a couple things he could have cleaned up, but man, I thought I was really impressed with what I saw from him. And then the other two guys, I thought they were great. I thought Austin had a really nice day, as running mostly with the twos, but really, really solid day. And then I think Keelan, from an arm talent standpoint, ball jumps out of his hand, man, really throws a nice ball. And he's got a lot of velocity on it, though.
Part of the problem is they show those throws in the 2 or 3 highlights that people get from practice, and he should be the guy.
Well, know that there's someone that has to be on the receiving end of those howitzers too. And it is a hard ball. But at this point, the operation, cleaning up the operation, making sure everybody's lined up, making sure everything's where it needs to be, that's still a work in progress, as it should be for a true freshman. So very impressed with what I saw from the quarterback position as a whole, but not really one thing that surprised me with that group. I mean, I think it's pretty clear what the pecking order is right now. Doesn't mean it can't change. But I think you should feel good. Whoever plays quarterback for the Tide this year, I think they're going to be in good hands. I really believe that to be the case.
Well, the concerns may be coming with backup quarterback and tight end for you. Not backup quarterback for you, but for some others, and then tight end. But Kalen DeBoer also had some concerns after the scrimmage over the weekend.
I mentioned Jam getting some good runs the first couple of plays of the game. Obviously, that meant there were some seams. And so the first drive in particular, some seams. And so we got to be ready to play, gap integrity defensively. But I didn't feel like over the course of the scrimmage, the defense had an issue with the run. So just being ready to go with the first couple plays, the offense got down the field pretty quickly. Defense did a nice job anchoring down and keeping them out of the end zone, though, at the end. So some good give and take. When I say that, that's kind of the first drive only. But I thought they did a good job. And so then on the alternative, what you'd like to see is the offense continue to execute, right? And the run game. And it wasn't like they were bad, but those explosives that you want to try to see, certainly the defense did a nice job of clamping it down.
All right, so that's Kalen DeBoer and a couple of the concerns coming out of the scrimmage from over the weekend. Also, Greg brought up quarterbacks, Kalen DeBoer, on how the quarterbacks looked in the scrimmage and this past week of practice.
They've done a great job, first of all, taking care of the football. No picks today, a few touchdown passes between all three of them. And the completion percentage over the course of camp for all three has been in that, range that we want. Like to have a minimum of 65%. And they just did a good job being consistent, but they've taken care of the football. I think there's maybe 3 picks all camp. When you talk about 7-on-7 drills, team drills, I might be off 1, probably not off 2, but they've done a good job taking care of the football. And I think the first week just missed a few plays. The last practices, finding the ways to get explosives. I think, commanding the huddle. I think your 2 guys that have been around the offense the longest, Ty and Austin, when they get in a huddle and they got to rattle off a play, they're sharp and confident with it. Keelan's still learning those things, but he's doing a great job. The progress is something that you'd hope for, and he's right there. So, explosive opportunities, they got the ball there. They delivered the ball. And timing, I feel like very few times are we in a spot where we're not throwing on time, not confident with where we should deliver the ball.
What would your ideal scenario for Keelan Russell be this year, Greg? If you could have it go exactly the way you wanted to, what would you want to see here from him this season?
Be the 3 quarterback. Run the scout team. That's ideal.
But I want you to also take into consideration today's college football.
Yeah. That's still what you would want. Yes. Hang on a second. Let me just for a moment. Who is the first family of football?
The Matthews.
From a standpoint, yes.
From a position people really care about, the Mannings.
Yes, thank you.
No, still say Matthews. Line of scrimmage family.
All right, no one breeds guards like him. All barrel-chested and jacked. No, the Mannings. Who knows? Answer me this. Who knows better than quarterback development in the Manning family? Seriously.
The Maranoviches? Nobody.
Too soon.
I would say nobody.
Okay? It's like if they know the blueprint to getting you to the finish line and to be the best possible player that you could become, don't you think that would have maybe applied to how they're raising their grandson/nephew?
I mean, I feel like that's probably fair to at least observe and say, yeah, they've got it figured out a little bit.
If they thought it was in the best interest of Arch to start as a true freshman, you think he would have gone to Texas?
No.
If they thought it was in the best interest of Arch to be anything other than the 3rd quarterback year 1, you think they would have gone to Texas? Or, I don't know, state of Texas?
I'm going to guess no.
Reminder, he was 3rd string his freshman year behind Malik Murphy and Quinn Ewers. And a reminder as well, Malik Murphy started multiple games that year. So, if I don't trust the Mannings on what it should look like to develop a young quarterback, then who the heck am I supposed to trust? So, that's fine. If Keelan and his camp decide, yeah, you know what? That's not what's best for me. I got to play now, which, by the way, after talking to the young man after the scrimmage, I don't get the sense that he's got, I don't get the sense that he's real frustrated with his situation. He's a tremendous young kid. All 3 quarterbacks, visiting with all of them, really, really like the personalities in the room. They're very supportive of one another. Just a really healthy quarterback room from a competition standpoint, but also from just a support standpoint, which you got to have, by the way.
Yeah.
You got to have a good backup. If your backup's a slap, that's not good, right? It's just the truth. It's not good at all. You want the backup to want to play, but you want the backup to support the starter. And I feel like that is a very, very healthy dynamic that's going on right now in the locker room. I don't think it's in his best interest to be out there on the field in year 1 unless he is 100% the best man for the job. And based on what I saw on Saturday, I don't think he is. At this point, doesn't mean that can't change in 4 months. But guess what? Had I gone to scrimmage, and did, by the way, in 2017, I didn't think Tua was better than Jalen. But guess what? 4 months later, he was.
Right.
On that one day, right? So anything can happen down the road. But I think the best case scenario is he is a backup the entire season. Third string for the entire season. Gets used to the speed of the game, acclimates. And you know what also that means? That means that Ty and or Austin, we'll use Ty in this scenario. That means that he's done what he's supposed to do too. He's had a great year because then you're not peeking over your shoulder. So perfect world, as a Bama fan, I would love nothing more than for Keelan to redshirt this year to get bigger, year to get stronger, year to get more comfortable, year to acclimate to allowing the game to progress a little faster, play a little faster, all that stuff. And then next year, you throw your hat in the ring. That's ideal scenario for me.
Okay. You don't feel like you need to see him in game. Don't need to feel like some situational stuff or even just clean up stuff late.
Well, the beauty is you can redshirt and play 4 now.
That's fair. Yeah.
I think that's great. If they can get him in some games, that's fantastic. But guys, Austin Mack's pretty good too. Like just so you know, like I know that people are freaking out and whatnot, but like Austin
There were
Mack,
a lot of people excited about him this time last year, and it's like that kind of went away. And now everybody's forgotten that he was somebody that this coaching staff really liked.
he could throw it now.
It showed some signs of being able to do some things. Size, obviously, a big advantage for him.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden now it's like people kind of don't want him to be great, or be good, but he feels a little forgotten in this entire thing.
He's pretty good. Now he doesn't have the same level of quick twitch mobility that the other two guys have, but man, he's got a live arm. I mean, he can really throw it. So I like what I saw from the quarterbacks this weekend, man. Like I got to be honest. Like, I didn't expect them to look as good as they did. You want to be honest? I was real optimistic with what I saw. The decisiveness of Ty, getting the ball out, knowing exactly where to go with the football, letting your feet talk to you. Like, I thought he had one bad decision in the entire day. One bad decision, which on practice 9? That's phenomenal.
That's great.
There were 2 instances in which him and the receiver were on the same page. One, he thought he was going to go back shoulder. One, he thought the receiver was going downfield, which, by the way, that's going to happen week 10 of the season. That just happens. And then one in the end zone where he thought receiver was going to cross face. I think he made the right decision there. Receiver made the wrong decision there. But either way, like two where he wasn't on the same page with the receiver. Easy to clean up. And guess what? Always a work in progress there. And then I thought he made the play of the game. The play of the day. The best play by a quarterback was made by Ty. I was very impressed. I think he should feel great about where he's at. And I think the other 2 guys should feel good about where they're at too, because I thought they did a lot of really nice things. Keelan is a freshman, a lot of nice things. A lot of things clean up, but a lot of nice things. And Austin, I thought he impressed me a lot with how he threw the ball down the field.
We've got plenty of time to talk about Alabama. We'll do that, but there is some interesting news out of Waco with Auburn's first opponent. We'll talk to Parker Rim about Baylor when we come back from break. First time, I'll tell you that for over 50 years, my friends at Royal Automotive have been helping our friends and neighbors experience how car buying should be. Right now, get financing as low as 0% with approved credit on select models through August 31st. Certain restrictions apply. 4 dealerships, 1 destination, unmatched selection and savings. Royal Buick GMC, Royal Volkswagen, Royal Automart, Volvo Cars of Vestavia Hills, all at the corner of I-65 and Highway 31 of Vestavia. From sales to service, the team at Royal can help you find that new ride and keep you rolling. When it's time to start searching for your next vehicle, all 4 stores in one location means you can get behind the wheel for a test drive without driving all over town. And when they say for every ride there's Royal, they mean it. If you're shopping for that very first ride or your dream ride, go see my friends at Royal. Royal Buick GMC, Royal Volkswagen, Royal Automart, Volvo Cars of Vestavia Hills, all at the corner of I-65 and Highway 31 of Vestavia, online at royalautomotive.net. We've got injury news from all across college football, some from inside the SEC, other news around SEC teams. We'll go around SEC camps in the 8 o'clock hour. Matt Moscano will join us from Baton Rouge to discuss some interesting news from LSU. Bruce Feldman's with us in the 9 o'clock hour, but we'll talk Baylor and a key piece that may be missing for the Auburn game next on Mac and Cube in the morning. Welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. We're going to talk some Baylor football. Auburn's opener in Waco. Some injury news that Parker Rem's going to give us here in just a moment. You're going to have to wait for that. But one thing you never have to wait for, GMAC, is your dental care.
That's because Family Care Dental has you taken care of. They're the urgent care office where you can be seen the same day in several locations to make it easy on you. Hoover, Fultondale, Homewood, Alabaster, and Trustful. They can get you in the same day. Look, we know for a lot of folks, school has started, but for school is starting for us tomorrow. So those of you that are maybe in need of a dental cleaning before school starts, ate nothing but candy all off season, I can understand that. It's about what we did. So if you need to get in, get your things taken care of before the school year gets underway, Family Care Dental can do it for you. They can probably get you in today. They can see you on Fridays and Saturdays, especially as the schedule gets a little bit more challenging. So go and see them and call them today at 874-9605. That's Family Care Dental, 874-9605.
All right, so we'll talk about Auburn's opener. Of course, Baylor going to be that team, and some injury news coming out of Baylor from over the weekend. Parker Rem going to join us now, sports director at KWKT, Fox 44 there in Waco. Running back depth might now be an issue for Dave Aranda's squad. Parker, can you give us an update from over the weekend of how this will affect the Bears?
Yeah, guys, pleasure to be joining you guys this morning. We heard it from Dave Aranda. We actually saw Dawson Pendergrass, who's basically the second running back on the depth chart, but almost a 1A, 1B kind of situation for Baylor. Dave Aranda's offenses are known for having two running backs that kind of shoulder the load and then, depth past that point. But we learned on Saturday, Dave told us that Dawson is out for the season with a foot injury that requires surgery. That's about as much detail as he went into it. So big blow for the offense. I think it's not end of the world like some fans have been saying, but I think it's a major loss this early in the season for the Bears.
Really disappointing. Obviously, Washington's still going to be great as their number one back, but what does the depth look like beyond him?
Well, you got a couple freshmen in the mix. I think somebody that is super exciting for Baylor fans and somebody that you expected to see a little bit mixed in there, but maybe not the role that he's now going to take on is Caden Knighton, a freshman, four-star freshman that some Baylor Bears on the team are calling him Little Scattaboo, so baby Scattaboo. You get a sense there's a combination of speed, quickness, but also the ability to drive through contact. And that's something that made Dawson Pendergrass so good is yards after contact. I think Bryson Washington does a lot of that, but, the more carries you get, the more wear and tear that takes on your body. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how he divvies up the workload and the timeshare in that backfield.
Parker Rem joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, covers the Baylor Bears for Fox 44 there in Waco. All right, so we wanted to get the injury news right out of the way because that felt like the most important thing coming out of the weekend for the Baylor Bears. But up until then, through Saturday, other than that, what has been Dave Aranda's sort of feel for camp, his thoughts on just kind of where this team has been so far?
I think it's kind of a different mindset as opposed to recent years. Obviously, a couple down years for Dave Aranda. He was on that hot seat. Now it's cooled down a little bit. You're going into a confident fall camp where this team really feels like the sky's the limit this year. And I think that's kind of what Dave Aranda's played into throughout fall camp is we are that team. Now it's time, and we've seen it last year. Now it's time to go show that. And it's just a confident group, whether it's offense or defense, special teams. I think the Bears really feel like they should be one of the top dogs in the Big 12, maybe in the country.
Looking at the quarterback growth, a lot of the reason why people feel really confident is with what Sawyer Robertson's going to do and his progress that he made throughout the course of last season. I don't think there were many in the country playing better than he was down the stretch in the regular season. So can he pick up right where he left off, and how confident are they in his growth and potential to kind of carry them this season?
Well, I think that confidence, you say that he got confident towards the end of the season, and that hot stretch that Baylor went on was primarily him. He's been through so many quarterback battles throughout his time at Baylor. It seems like every single year he's having to fight with somebody for that starting spot. And he lost the first two battles, whether it was Blake Shapen, who now's in Mississippi State, or DeQuan Finn, who was brought in for $1 million to be the starting quarterback. And then both of them get injured and Sawyer Robertson gets his time in the spotlight. But this time he really solidified it last year. That was week 3 against Air Force. And, you saw this confidence build throughout the season that he can do this. And I think that's something that Dave Aranda said too, was he didn't see that before. He didn't know that he had that in him. Now it's like everyone's rallying around Sawyer Robertson. So I think it's going to be a special year for him. He's certainly got the weapons in the skill positions, but can he just replicate what he did? If people say if Sawyer's being Sawyer, they're going to be just fine this year.
What about the offensive scheme and any differences that may be there? Any, I guess, confusion, anything that will be taking a little while to catch up? Because it's obviously going to be, there's some different principles that are going to be a part of what they're running this year as opposed to last year.
Yeah, I think where that all resides is from Jake Spavital, who is really a top-tier offensive mind in the country. He brought Baylor's offense from pretty much stagnant the past 2 years before he got here to, firing on all cylinders past week 3. So I think that's where you got to look in terms of the offensive scheme, is they really adapted pretty quick. And I think it fits much better for Sawyer Robertson to just be going up tempo. That's pretty much what they pride themselves on, is, getting to the line, running a play. And you saw that last year. I mean, the run game was working. The pass game was working. The offensive line got a greater push than it's ever gotten, in the Dave Aranda era. And I think that's what they need this year.
Finally, defensively, as they get ready to go up against this Auburn Tiger RPO type of team. And, as I believe Cole likes to call him, Dave Aranda being kind of that assassin's mentality, the quiet assassin. Yeah. He's going to have something. He's going to have a couple unique looks that he's just thought about and drawn up probably on a whiteboard all off season. How likely is it that they come out week 1 and throw a huge curveball at Auburn with what they do structurally on the defensive side?
Yeah, I think we heard last year that Dave Aranda was going to take a more intuitive approach with the defense, maybe be more involved in the defense, because obviously, he's a defensive coach. He used to be a defensive coordinator, one of the best defensive minds, you hear from other coaches all throughout the country. And he called it an ugly baby. He's always known for his metaphors too. So he called the defense his ugly baby. You got to love it nonetheless, even if it's ugly. And it was last year. I think that's something that he's trying to shake up this year, and he's got the talent to do so. But I would expect something with Auburn's offense and just the duality of it to maybe shake things up. Might look a little bit different in week 1, just to throw some curveballs at the Tigers, because if you're going to win an SEC game like that at home to open the season on a Friday night under the lights there, you got to do something to shake them up.
I've heard, Parker, that there's just a lot around the program going into this game, be it blackout, message boards saying, going out of their way not to let Auburn fans get tickets, people that bring it back to the game. Like, what? Just kind of give us the feel from Waco in general, the program in general, the fan base in general, of maybe what they're doing that shows how much this game means to the program and the fan base.
Well, the moniker SEC just means more. I think that's honestly the vibe that we're getting around Waco right now. And I think head to head, Baylor and Auburn have only played twice, if I'm not mistaken. That just screams prime time game. It's actually on our channel, Fox 44, that night. It coincides with the first week of high school football, which is huge down here in Texas. I think that it's the perfect storm almost, so to speak. And I think fans are excited. Baylor fans are very passionate anyways, but to get the Auburn Tigers in Waco at McLean Stadium, same night as high school football, you just can't beat it. And blackout on the Brasses too. Baylor was 2-0 in those anthracite black uniforms last year. I think they're trying to go 3-0 at least in the past 3 games, and we'll see what happens on August 29th.
We appreciate the time, appreciate the updates today, Mike. Thanks so much for hopping on. We'll catch up again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
All right, there you go. Mike Rand joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, covers the Baylor Bears for Fox 44 there in Waco. And we'll start with the injury news, Greg. It's it's super disappointing for Baylor fans and super disappointing for the individual. But Dawson Pendergrass, second leading rusher last year, 671 yards, 6 rushing touchdowns. He's going to miss the entire season. Also, somebody who has had 37 catches in 2 years, so valuable out of the backfield as well. Not the leading rusher, not the number one guy, but just you don't want to have to start playing with your depth right in the middle of camp, specifically with somebody that you were going to be relying upon. Yeah,
it's a bummer. And Pendergrass really complimented Bryce Washington well last year. I mean, he can do some things out of the backfield. He has some versatility. It allowed them to play both those guys on the field at the same time if they wanted to. So losing him is a bit of an issue. Now, it's running back, and they have 3 more guys, and it sounds like they're high on the freshman. And that is a position where, as a freshman, you can get on the field, but you lose a little bit most of the time in protection. That's, I think, the big key. And Bryson Washington is fine as a blocker, but it's not really his specialty by any stretch. So to lose a guy that was 240 pounds, that was real reliable in that area is a problem. So that's probably the biggest takeaway for me is how now will they evolve to the point where they can really protect the quarterback? Because Sawyer Robertson, while mobile, I think it's going to be important for them to make sure that he is as safe as can be there in the backfield.
Yeah, and it's you mentioned protection. I would say almost protection and security. It just a lot of times doesn't feel like freshmen have the understanding of ball security like they need to. Just it hasn't probably had to be something.
They've never been hit like they're going to get hit.
Yeah, it's just you haven't had guys with the emphasis of taking the football away that are as big and strong as they're going to have in college football. So there are complications that come with it, but obviously if you were going to offset it, running back would probably be one of the few positions that you'd feel best about it if you were going to have to do it. Does it change your opinion on this game at all when you hear kind of how much is going into it from a community standpoint out of Waco that they're going to go blackout again? They're going out of their way to make sure Auburn fans don't get tickets. I know that sounds like something that's going to happen everywhere, but not a lot of fan bases have that wherewithal to get out there and say, hey, don't let them infiltrate our territory. And, Dave Aranda pointing out multiple times this offseason about this is an SEC opponent. We know what that means. We know what this can do for our program if we get that game. Does it change your opinion on it one way or the other? Because I can go the other way where you're like, hey, if you are putting all those emphasis on all those things, you might not be putting enough on the scheme and the players you're going to be up against.
Well, not only is it concerning if you lose that game, I don't think it's as much about how it impacts the preparation leading into it. I think it more impacts the reaction after the fact in the event in which they lose. When you go all in on a game like this and come up short, it can have a devastating effect in the locker room. But this should not come as a surprise. This is a huge opportunity on Friday night, massive audience. There is another game up against it, Colorado, Georgia Tech, but I would say both games are going to be watched and consumed by a lot of people there on Friday night. There are some other games too, but it's a big one. So I'm not surprised that Dave Aranda is going all in, because what's the biggest win of his tenure? The Sugar Bowl win over Ole Miss. Like, he knows the importance of welcoming an SEC team in, how much it helps in recruiting, how much it helps in just kind of setting the narrative straight for them if they win this game. So, yeah, it's a massive one, and one that I don't think is going to be taken lightly at all by the Baylor Bears.
Yeah, I would be there with you. And you don't like to hear this injury news this point in time in camp with somebody you were going to lean on, but Auburn obviously has their news coming out of camp. We're going to get to some of that on the other side. Also, you hear more from Kalen DeBoer. We have a question about Alabama's practice coming in for GMAC that we'll get to on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll get to that. Tweet into the show at Mac and Cube. Your thoughts on this Auburn-Baylor game or where Alabama is in practice right now, 205-834-9450. You can be a part of the show on the Higginbotham Hotline. We'll discuss all of that and more and get to a certain one of your questions about what happened with Alabama Saturday next when we come back right here on Jox. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. You can always tweet into the show at Mac and Cube. Be a part there. If you have questions, concerns, things you want to get in, things that are on your mind, let us know about that. If you are looking to get to a new home, however, Gusty Goulis and the Gusty Goulis Group can help you there. It's easy, and you know it's going to be effective because the Gusty Goulis Group has served more than 3,000 home buyers and sellers in the greater Birmingham area. You want to know how they've done? Just Google Gusty Goulis Group, and you're going to see over 850 five-star Google reviews. Brokered by eXp Realty, Gusty investing thousands of dollars into the latest tools. You can trust his aggressive and proven selling system. And since 2012, the Gusty Goulis Group recognized both nationally and locally as Greater Birmingham, Alabama's #1 team in homes sold. However, if you're looking to get to a new home, you want to know how much your home is worth, go to GustyGoulsGroup.com right now. Button at the top of the page. Smash that. Very little information. They're going to let you know what they think they can get for your house. And they're going to know what's coming available before it's even on the market. So go to 205-542-1996 on your cell phone today. Ask what they can do for you. That's 205-542-1996 and start packing. Our question coming into the show, G-Mac. Jamie Bailey tweets in, Coach DeBoer mentioned the gaps that the running backs had. Does that mean that the O-line blocking well or the D-line missing assignments? Sorry if this is a dumb question. Not a dumb question at all.
Not at all.
But I will say, quickly, Saber number 7 clip, Kalen DeBoer, how Jam Miller and the running backs performed during the scrimmage on Saturday.
Jam started out really well. I think the offensive line did a nice job creating some seams for Jam to hit. Got to the second level, broke a couple tackles. I thought it was one of the better showings I've seen Jam have in a scrimmage. And then, Daniel Hill is a guy we're getting more and more comfortable with. He's big back, but I think he's deceiving when it comes to what he does from a skill set standpoint because he can catch the ball in the backfield. Dre has been consistent all camp long. Thought he poured a couple runs up in there. Did a nice job. Maybe when there's not even something there, just moving the pile and getting those 3-yard gains that are important to setting your offense up for good down at distances. Rich, continues to do his thing too. So all of them, I think Jam, certainly had the best day, and that's been consistent. I feel good about all of them in pass protection, first with their responsibilities and the ability to go up there and execute too and get the job done.
So there you go, Greg. That was Kalen DeBoer's explanation on some of the run game from Saturday. But back to Jamie's question, where would you lean there as far as the responsibility and what might be good, bad about the outcome?
Well, what's the biggest thing that most coaches are freaking out about early in fall camp and early in the season, frankly, is tackling. And let's be real, that's the first time they've gone live. So to have a couple guys get truck sticked is not really that uncommon. I thought Jam looked great. I thought he ran really hard. And guys, they got some backs, man. Daniel Hill is a load at 244 pounds, and he looks it too. I feel like 244 is a bit light, frankly. They are getting downhill and pushing the pile. I was real impressed with what I saw from the backs. I like the freshman, AKD, or number 0. Now, he didn't get a ton of touches, but when you watch him, he kind of looks like a TJ Yeldon body, like kind of long, bit upright, but he's got just like a little bit of wiggle. And I don't know how many touches he's going to end up getting this year, but he's got a chance, I think, in the future to have some real opportunities. But I like the backs. As far as Jamie's question, I don't think it's that uncommon to be a little bit out of sorts from time to time in the run fits early on. Cole, I think you got to give some credit to the offensive line too. I think the offensive line altogether, vastly improved unit based on what I saw there in the first scrimmage from where they were a year ago. And that's without what I think is one of the great Alabama guards of all time in Tyler Booker. So I don't feel like there's much drop off, which I think is really encouraging. But for the linebackers and the D-line not to all be on the same page, practice 1, scrimmage 1, is not something I'm going to lose a ton of sleep over because it got better as the game went along.
No, and it's something too that it depends on how the defense is playing it. That's something that has an impact everywhere. Are they super aggressive? Are they kind of sitting back, and that can give the offense bigger advantages? Listen, there's some veterans on that Alabama front also, but with as much as this offensive line's played together, even though there are a few new pieces, you look at a couple of the guys that were either banged up last year or missed certain time in spring, whatever that is, they've still been together a lot of practices, a lot of games. I mean, the core of this group that's together, Greg, that they should have that understanding of how things are going to operate at this point in time.
Yeah, I think it's fair. And remember too, I mean, it's not like Deontay's out there playing 60 snaps. You know, I mean, they're trying to figure out what depth looks like at the second level. You never know what the emphasis was defensively. I thought they were pretty dang disruptive up front with some of their pass rush. And I saw some interior. I didn't have a roster until the end of the scrimmage, but there were some guys up front that were really causing some problems with the pass rush, which I was encouraged by. So maybe it was a little bit more of an emphasis. And hey, guys, go shoot your own shot. Like we'll get the run game fits sorted, but like you as a defensive lineman, show out today. Like you guys go get it. And I want to see guys up front go and wear people out. And if we're out of gap, fine. Like we'll figure that out in practice 15. But here on practice 9, I want to see the defensive linemen doing their thing. So maybe that was the emphasis point. You never know. So I wouldn't be super concerned. If anything, my biggest takeaway was the backs were running really hard and were finishing runs. And that's not something we saw all the time last year. So I'm pretty encouraged by what I saw there.
No, and the physicality, the size of the backs, also something that impressed you over the weekend?
Very much so. Like they were Jam. I don't know if it was his first carry of the game, but my goodness, it had to have been like a 30-yard run, and it was just bulldozer. It was like, goodness gracious, that dude looks mad today. So good place to start is a good downhill physical rushing attack, and especially with the young quarterback, an inexperienced quarterback, having a group up front that can control the line of scrimmage and backs that will just make you think twice about coming up and meeting them in the hole. Pretty good spot to start.
I don't think there's any doubt. So you got some veterans on that offensive line. Obviously, the running back rotations look pretty good. You just mentioned that rotation at guard. Kalen DeBoer also, with no Jaden Roberts, just kind of discussing the rotation at guard for this offensive line and how it's looked so far through camp.
With Jaden out today, the rotation was less. It was kind of those guys in there, left guard Cam, right guard Gino. And so that was kind of our lineup. And that's more than likely kind of what it looked like before camp. And, that hasn't really changed much with the main core of 6 guys kind of competing for those spots more days than not.
All right, so let's continue talking Alabama offensive line depth. We'll get to a little bit more on that, get to your calls, your tweets as well, 800-239-9569. And you can always tweet into the show at Mac and Cube. More on Alabama's guard rotation, offensive line depth, how it's looked so far through camp. Next, right here on Jox. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Some injury news around the SEC. We'll discuss LSU's in the 8 o'clock hour as we go around SEC camps every 8 o'clock hour now leading up to kickoff. As you guys know, that's what we're going to kind of focus on that hour of the show every day until college football begins. Some news out west. Southern California DB Prophet Brown, GMAC, going to be out for the early portion of the season, undisclosed injury, but a USC defense that we anticipate being a little bit better even than it was last year, which it was improved last year. Going to have one of their stars in the secondary out for the first couple of weeks.
Yeah, not great. But look, the schedule is not outrageous, at least early on, so it can be overcome. But this is a group that took great strides last year. And it doesn't mean that they're a top 10 unit by any stretch, but I think they were somewhere in the mid-60s, up from 120-something the year before. So if they can just kind of stay there and get a little more, not turn it over the way they did at times in the middle of the season last year, like this, I think SC is a big-time sleeper. Like, how many teams on their schedule can score with them? There's not many. So I am real optimistic about them, but they're going to kind of need things to align on defense because I don't think their depth is outrageous.
Well, and we'll see if that USC defense can continue to make strides without one of their starters early on. Also, North Carolina offensive lineman Austin Blake, who's played a boatload of snaps for that group over the last few years. Foot injury now bothering him in camp. His status for the opener going to be unknown. We'll continue with some of the injury updates coming out of fall camp. But first, if you'd like to be a part of our Jox kickoff party, Damian, tell the listeners how they can do that.
Yeah, you celebrate the kickoff to college football with us at the Bill Smith Buick GMC Jox kickoff party at Regents Field on Thursday, August 21st. And the only way to go is by winning tickets. To win a pair of tickets for you and a guest, text the keyword SCORE and your full name to 205-834-9450. The keyword is SCORE and your full name to 205-834-9450. Winners are drawn and notified daily. For more information, visit joxfm.com.
All right, so we mentioned that guard rotation at Alabama, Greg. It's one of the things that we have referenced this offseason that could be a real strength is the depth at that position because Gino Vandermark's the guy that just was completely forgotten for a lot of this offseason by a lot of people, but played good football at times for Alabama last year when Jaden Roberts was out. Now Roberts out again, but you get Cam Dewberry from Texas A&M, who I heard may have been a little bit dinged up in this scrimmage on Saturday as well. But either way, you've got that rotation of guards that can get going, maybe a few more now getting reps that you weren't really intending to. But that depth is going to be something that's valuable if specifically those three can be healthy heading into the season.
I like Cam Dewberry a lot. Like, he's well built.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
Just your appearance, did he appear to be in okay shape?
Yes.
From what you saw.
Like,
that's critical. I mean, that's the
I'm
thing
telling
I saw
you, he
from
looked
him last
really
year.
sharp.
He looked sloppy a little bit at times last year. He did not look like he was in good football shape. If that can be different, then he can help.
Well, and he got a little banged up early in the scrimmage, but he came back, no problems. Doesn't sound like it's going to be anything long term. He was back in there, I think, when they got into the situational stuff. But I thought he looked really trim. Without having seen him and focused on him really up close last year, I was pretty impressed with what I saw. I think the guards are going to be rock solid. There were a couple things, a little bit on the edges. I thought Caden had a nice day. With the offensive line, I hate saying this, but there wasn't anyone that I saw that I'm like, yeah, that's a problem. I think Wilkin looked ready to roll at right tackle. They look like they're in good shape there. I think the offensive line has a chance to be a real position of strength this year. And part of it has to do with the depth at guard. I think Dewberry's got a chance to have a really nice season.
So if that guard depth is solid for Alabama, it's going to be a huge advantage. We know what they've got at center, and I don't know what would be next after Brailsford and how big the drop-off would be, but it would be significant either way because he just means that much. But this is a group that Alabama has a chance to be able to lean on. And they'll get a good test with Florida State right out of the gate. And if you can prove that you can do it there, I think it's something consistently they are not only going to want to do, but might be able to do throughout the course of the season. All right, we go around SEC camps. When we come back, Matt Moscona gives us some injury updates from Baton Rouge. And we'll give you other injury updates from the SEC next right here on Jox. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, hour number 2, 8 o'clock hour. We'll go around the SEC this hour every day leading up to fall camp, and you can always be a part of that. Tweet in at Mac and Cube. You can hit us on the phones, 800-239-9569. That gets you on the Higginbotham hotline. Recapping a little bit, Greg, of what we talked about with Alabama scrimmage on Saturday. Offensive line looks pretty good. Running backs looking pretty good. And you like quarterback and kind of where it is. And not just number one with Ty Simpson, but maybe kind of where that group is as a whole.
Yeah, I think they should feel really good about what they did on Saturday. I thought it was a very, very strong start, especially considering how early it is in camp. I mean, it's not uncommon to have the defense way ahead of the offense at this point. It's not uncommon at all. So the fact that they didn't have any turnovers, they didn't have anything that was really that close to being a turnover, frankly, and it was just clean operation, especially with the 1s and 2s, you got to feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, it's a place that I think a lot of people had some concerns now with what's going to be second, possibly Austin Mack, and I don't know why people forgot about him, and all of a sudden people just thought he wasn't a guy that could maybe help or play, but I have felt some disappointment from Alabama fans that he may be the second guy, and you're on the other side of that. You say that's okay. You'd rather Keelan Russell be able to get that extra time to develop, to be able to see things, have a better understanding of things without that pressure of maybe sitting there having to be next if something did happen to Ty Simpson.
Yeah, you can focus on you. When you're running the scouts, it's a great thing. You're going to get way more reps as the scout team quarterback than you are as the backup quarterback. I think it's a tremendous thing to have the freedom and the luxury to focus on your own development as opposed to trying to prepare for the opponent every week. When you're in game mode, when you're in season mode, and you're in the top 2 in the depth chart, you got to worry about what the defense is going to be running. You're more concerned about how your game plan is going to expose the defensive's inefficiencies than you are your own personal development, your footwork, your drops, your timing, your accuracy, getting bigger, getting stronger. Those are things you can't really focus on in the season. So knowing that, hey, it's highly unlikely I get in the ball game in a meaningful moment this year would be beneficial for, I think, his long-term development. All you have to do is look back to how the Manning family felt it was necessary for Arch to go somewhere where he could learn and observe and be a 3, year 1, year 2, be the 2, and then year 3, be the guy. I think if you look at their blueprint, who are we to question Archie, Peyton, and Eli and Cooper? They know. So I think it's a great spot.
It's a great spot for that Alabama offense in general to have Austin Mack, who's been in this offense for a while, Ty Simpson, who has been really at Alabama and now in this offense for almost 2 years. That experience could be big for if Alabama does need some quarterback depth or where this offense is going to be able to go and what they're going to be able to do. And if the offensive line is doing what it looks like they're doing with those backs, I think that's obviously going to be massive week 1. You and I have mentioned this across the board. What do these teams have to be careful of? And that's the continuity, the chemistry, the situational awareness with week 1, holding on to the football. Like we just mentioned with Baylor a little bit earlier. Your number 2 running back goes out. You have to play a freshman. All right, your new freshman's baby Scatterboo. You just like me have heard all these nicknames, all these guys, all these things that they're doing as freshmen when they come out. We had a freshman wide receiver predicted he was going to win the Heisman before he got in pads.
Love that.
Didn't work out so well. I'm not sure he caught a pass in his Auburn career. But nonetheless, those things happen. You know, some of that hype builds, and then you get in a game and things are extremely different than they were leading in. So it's one of those things that I think you look at and say, the safe aspect of this would be experience at quarterback, an offensive line that can win, and running backs that can get it done. Especially early in the season for a lot of guys who haven't been in games together, that could end up being massive. Down at Auburn, it looks like Jackson Arnold had a really nice scrimmage. It was open to the public. It was open to the media. And some of what I heard, G-Mac, coming out of that was that DJ Durkin did a little bit more, kind of showing a little bit more, some more movement up front, some more pressures at different spots, different places. But Jackson Arnold handling that, making the right decisions, connecting a few times with receivers down the field. So I think that's one thing that I've been a little bit concerned about. I don't know how intentional that was to be able to show everybody, hey, he can also be successful against a defense that's actually doing things, but it does feel like Jackson Arnold continuing to make the right steps there in that Auburn offense.
Well, help me out here. Offensive line getting some criticism coming out of the first scrimmage. At what point?
Yeah, that was something that I think certain people said maybe not where it needs to be.
But
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just like, maybe I'm taking crazy pills. That's possible. I certainly understand that, especially after a 9-hour Braves game yesterday. But
How many innings they go to?
9.
An hour an inning.
But I have
Good Lord.
I have a 3-year-old that has, I think, a broken toe, pinky toe. It's not great. And I had to carry him around the bases after the game, so I'm a little bit lightheaded. But hear me out for a second. At what point have we spent this offseason talking about the offensive line being a problem for Auburn? I don't recall a time.
Yeah, no, there hasn't been a ton of concern.
So I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, we feel like that could be a strength.
Like it's practice, it's scrimmage 1. Like I'm actually encouraged to hear the defensive line was disruptive, right? I mean, I know it's you want both sides to look good and have good moments and all, but like if the defensive line won the first scrimmage, that's a good thing, no? Because we feel like this Auburn offensive line shouldn't have problems this year.
Shouldn't. No. And that's the thing about these practices, these scrimmages. We can talk about how great certain things were, but as great as it was, it's the same team that's giving that up or allowing that to happen. Now, some of that can be situational, what's being allowed, what's not being allowed. Maybe what's not being allowed is more important a lot of times than what is being allowed. But it's something that is definitely problematic in a lot of different ways. However, when it's controlled or it's set up to go that way, it might not be as problematic as a lot of people believe. I want to go away from Auburn and go down to Florida. Wide receiver Dallas Wilson, lower leg injury, uncertain of his status for the opener, uncertain of how that's going to look. But that's a group last year, Greg, that was dinged up at times, and they lost a couple of bodies. I don't think this is a group that, with Lagway already seeing some of the dings that he's seen, that Florida wants to kind of mess around with. I mean, you go and get J. Michael Sturdivant from UCLA, who can be a big help. We know Eugene Wilson going to be back. We've seen a little bit of Khalil Jackson, but Dallas Wilson, a guy that I think they were expecting to come in and be able to help. Yes, he's a freshman, but you don't want to see the numbers begin to dwindle this early in camp for Florida at that position where it hurt them a year ago.
Well, I saw that and I was a little concerned, right? We had been told all off season by those in the know that it sounds like the receivers in general are pretty dang sporty. They're going to be solid there. That's one of the better position groups on the team. And that was a position group that, frankly, I had concerns about coming into the year. But I don't know their depth. I don't know about you. Like, I don't know their depth. I know their starting group is probably going to be pretty good. But you never want to see a guy out, especially knowing, yes, those first 2 games are absolutely gettable for the Gators. But week 3, you're on the road at LSU.
Yep.
And you got to be at 100% going on the road to Death Valley. You just have to be. So here's hoping that it won't be something that lingers, but if it is, that could be a little bit of a problem.
I think it's something, too, that when you look at, you say, all right, well, the youngsters have got to come along. Aiden Mizell was supposed to be the guy last year, right? Like,
yes.
All the buzz in camp. I mean, he was the fall camp folk hero for the Florida offense, and it kind of didn't really work out to the extent that we thought. Eugene Wilson kind of proven he's been dinged up at different points in times. Khalil Jackson has just been inconsistent, and that's why you go get Sturdivant to come in and say, we need a solidified guy here that can help us.
Right.
Tank Hawkins, somebody that I feel like we've gotten a little bit of buzz on that can maybe help, but because there aren't just the solidified knowns that have been there, because Sturdivant hasn't, you don't want that group to get dinged up. The good news is what I'm hearing out of Florida camp is the offensive line has been what they expected, kind of like what you said about Auburn.
Yeah.
We're supposed to lean on that group, right? Yes. Backs have been fine. O-line's been good. So everything else aside, if that's where you have to lean early, that's where you want to have to lean early when you're going up against teams that are probably going to throw a lot of different stuff at you. You know, I go to Alabama, South Florida early the last couple of years. Everybody said the offensive line was terrible, but what were they getting? An experienced group that was throwing everything at them.
Yep.
So it's going to be tough to offset that sometimes and not always going to be exactly what you want it to be. Arkansas apparently looked great over the weekend. And Sam Pittman kind of going out of his way to discuss, different individuals on the team, saying that offense got off to a good start in the scrimmage on Saturday.
Offense started hot with ones versus twos. I think they scored 3 times in that 15-play series. 2 offense scored on the 1 defense, and then the 1 defense pretty much started playing a lot better after that.
So You like that your offense getting off to a good start. You like that continues as well. So Sam Pittman kind of going there with that group over the weekend. Also said injuries not a real problem for his team in this scrimmage, which is always great news.
We came out pretty injury-free. Poscom possibly has a high ankle injury. Had two guys that didn't play today that probably could have played on a Saturday with Cam Ball and Rodney Hill, a couple of AC sprains there that aren't bad. Like I said, I think both of them could have played today if needed. We elected to hold them until Monday.
You love the fact that if it were a game weekend, they would have played, but I don't like Cam Ball being dinged up. I don't like that at all because there's not a ton of girth. There's not a ton of depth on the interior of that Arkansas defensive line, and Cam Ball has been solid, probably underrated, vastly underrated the last few years, but don't like to hear that he's a little bit dinged up, G-Mac. Don't want that right now for the Razorbacks.
No, they're not a roster that can really afford anyone being down for an extended period. I don't feel like they have the depth that some of the teams that they'll play in the league have. There's been a bunch of turnover naturally, so you kind of need to know that your known commodities are ready to rock. And if a guy misses some time as a result this year, I think it's problematic. I don't know how you feel about it.
No, it's just that's a position interior of that defensive line. They're going to get dinged anyway. They just are. Like, guys are going to need a blow. They're going to have to come out of games. They're going to miss series. So the depth is just necessary. It's like such a strength of like Tennessee that we talked about last year. Ohio State the last couple of years being able to roll in waves of guys. You just have to have it. You got to have it. Michigan, another team that's just had guy after guy. Georgia seemingly can just roll next guys in. It's a luxury not a lot of guys have, but when you don't have it, you don't want to hear about your frontline guys. Even if they could have gone on a game weekend, being able to go. But you don't want them dinged up at this point in the season. A guy that's making a ton of noise, though, in Arkansas camp, and Pittman actually had some of the reporters sort of making fun of him over the weekend for what he was saying about Mike Washington, is a running back that they got out of the portal. Apparently a 62 and 40-yard touchdown run over the weekend, just looking like he could end up being the guy. Now, keep in mind, New Mexico State last year, Mike Washington, 157 carries, 725 yards, 8 rushing touchdowns. So he has put up numbers, but Taylor Green, after the scrimmage, just on what he has seen from the Hogs' new running back.
I mean, everything really. You know, his speed, his physicality, his ability to break tackles, his pass protection. You know, everything. But I'm not really surprised about it. If you see what he's done in this offseason, in the training room, and the routine that he has, like it's some crazy stuff. Like I'll go in the training room, or my teammates will go in the training room, and he's in the back like on a Bosu ball and doing some, you know, crazy exercises. So he has to tell you about that. But just the amount of work that he puts into it is really I'm not surprised about it.
So if Mike Washington ends up being a dude for this offense, Greg, and Bobby likes to go downhill. That's what he likes to start with. And again, he throws it a lot, so people think that it's some sort of an air raid offense, but play action coming off of that can be massive, and that's how he usually attacks you down the field. But if they can get Mike Washington going with what Taylor Green, and Pittman also added this. Apparently Taylor Green ran for a touchdown and threw 5 or 6 touchdowns. That's a direct quote from Pittman from over the weekend. If that's the case, maybe this is the group that can take a step that nobody's talking about.
Probably. I think that they're going to score. That's not been a concern for me. My concern with Arkansas has long been, how good will they be in the front seven defensively, and can they cover? Because they have not been great in the back end for a number of years. Can that group take a step? Because look at the offenses that Arkansas will have to play this year. How many teams right now can throw it and create big plays on that schedule? A whole heap. A whole heap. So you better hope that those guys in the back end are ready to rock. But I'm not at all concerned about them running the football. I'm not at all concerned about their quarterback play. I do have some concerns about the new pieces at wide receiver. But if they can run the rock, guess what? Those receivers are going to get a lot of one-on-ones. And they're probably going to play a lot of zone defense because of how good Taylor Green is running the football at quarterback. So you're going to get a lot of zone. And having experienced guys, which they have, not experience at Arkansas, but experience at other places, they're going to be able to handles zone coverage probably better than most because they've seen it, they've run it, they've repped it. Man coverage, I'm fine with the freshman. With zone coverage, there's some nuance there. And I feel pretty good about their offense in general. Are you concerned about their defense?
A little bit. If guys like Cam Ball are dinged up, I am. I mean, there's a few guys that they're going to have to lean on that side of the football. Cam Ball is going to be one of them. I thought he was really good inside for them, and they didn't have a ton that were good inside. Justice Boone transferring in from Florida, another young man that Pittman has been very complimentary of and was complimentary of coming out of the scrimmage from over the weekend. But Xavier Sorey, Steven Dix, Larry Worth, Cam Ball, those are the players that I don't need anything wrong with. I need those to be guys that they can lean on, that are going to be there, be reliable, be healthy, because I think they're the ones that not only can make plays but can help those other players make plays. Now, they might not have the same thing off the edge that he did as Landon Jackson last year, but I think they can use an active group of linebackers and safeties to offset that a little bit. Travis can show some different looks. I mean, Travis showed us last year, you go to those looks against Tennessee, I mean, he can be one of those sort of middle of the year, put in a whole new defense guy.
A defensive game plan that was like years in the making.
That just had not been used.
Yeah, here we go.
And so,
hey, boys, how do you feel about this week?
You got to have versatility there. And I think Steven Dix, Xavier Sorey, Larry Worth, those kind of guys allow you to do those things. So, but I need Cam Ball inside ready to go. I need him healthy because he's a space eater. He can eat up blocks, and he allows those really fast group of linebackers to be able to run and make plays. So, feel pretty good about it. If you're feeling pretty good and want to feel really good, Game Day Men's Health can help you. And it's easy. All you have to do is go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com right now, sign up for a free consultation. Yes, it's free. Free consultation. Go in, get the free PSA test, free testosterone test. They're going to give you a baseline of where your health is right now. So if you lack energy, you're getting poor sleep, you feel on edge, these could all be the effects of low testosterone, or maybe you just need to lose a little bit of weight, and that's why you're not getting good sleep. That's why you're lacking that energy. They have multiple weight loss programs as well for you at Game Day Men's Health. Mention Mac and Cube and save 10% on any service that they offer. Go get all the facts right now at GameDayMen'sHealth.com. And keep in mind, if you do get started, minimal upfront costs from all the programs they offer at Game Day Men's Health. GameDayMen'sHealth.com today to get started for a new you. Okay, that's a little bit of a trip around some of the SEC. The big story, however, from SEC camps has been Garrett Nussmeier and his knee, that allegedly something had been going on. There were reports of airlifted out of practice, injuries being knocked out. We talked last week about how some of that wasn't necessarily real. Brian Kelly over the weekend kind of giving the reporters an update on where his quarterback is from a health perspective.
Just for the record, he has tendonitis, patella tendonitis. He does not have a torn ACL. We have not amputated his leg. He has a PO'd, and you know the initials of that, patella tendon. He was out there today throwing. Tomorrow he'll be back out, most likely in a practice situation. So thought we'd calm everybody down.
Yeah. All right, so he would go on there to say, and I thought this is really interesting, that part of this was an Oscar Slaughter's procedure that he has. I'm familiar with this because I have this. There's like a portion of your patella that kind of it deals with your growth plates and it grows. Mine hit me when I was like a teenager, but I can tell you this, it hurts like hell when it gets dinged and something bumps into it.
Yeah.
And if he had a procedure on that, which was already sore and painful, I can imagine some of the recovery with that, if it were to get dinged again, would hurt like hell. And it appears to be the issue there going on with Garrett Nussmeier. Brian Kelly, I mean, Greg, he beat this down to the best of his ability. Just the reporters kept going after him with detailed questions, technical questions, and Brian Kelly didn't really budge that this was not a big deal. So that's why we're going to have Matt Muscon on here in a few minutes to discuss it, but it doesn't sound like this is something that's as concerning as a lot of people want it to be for LSU.
Hopefully not, right? I mean, it's obviously he's their franchise. I mean, it'd be the equivalent of Patrick Mahomes being helped off the field for the Chiefs. Like, there's going to be panic. I mean, how could you not? I mean, he is the bread and butter. He is the straw that stirs the drink. He is, according to some, the best quarterback in the country. I think he's in that conversation. So if he's at any point not at 100%, that is of concern. Do I think it's going to have a long-term effect? Hopefully not. You know the procedure better than I do. I have no idea. But it is concerning. I mean, I can't help but be a little worried about it. I'm really, really anxious to talk to Matt about it because I don't know a lot of guys that get helped off the field in obvious pain with tendonitis. I don't know. It's concerning. So if he's not at 100%, the hopes of LSU's playoff run and or potential for a national championship evaporate if he's not at 100%. You not agree?
100%.
Yeah.
And listen, I love what they did in the portal from a backup perspective at quarterback, but it's not where you want to go based on what you have at number one. So Matt Moscona joins us next to discuss Garrett Nussmeier and that knee injury or lack thereof next on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 8:24. Monday, August 11th, right here on Jox 94.5. We're going to get to Matt Moscona here in just a moment, discuss Garrett Nussmeier, some potential injury issues there in Baton Rouge. But first, it looks like the heat's going to crank back up again this week here in Alabama. Felt great late last night or late yesterday evening, later afternoon. That heat and humidity can be brutal, though. Don't let it affect your home and family. Keep them comfortable with an affordable Trane cooling system. They've been recognized as America's most trusted brand 11 consecutive years, and they're the official cooling partner here at Jox. Find a comfort specialist near you at Trane.com. It's hard to stop a Trane. All right, Matt Moscona joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, making a bunch of appearances in the Netflix SEC series that's on right now. Did you know this was coming? Did you know they use this much of your audio?
So I haven't seen it yet, but yes, whenever when they were putting that together, the Netflix folks reached out for permission to use whatever, and I didn't like. We've had a lot of our stuff ripped off for documentaries over the year, which cool, great. I'm always happy to let people use it. But the Netflix protocol is pretty intense. Like they want like signed forms, waivers, like time-stamped everything that they want. So I don't know what they used, but they had permission to use a bunch of it. I'm glad they did.
Yeah, they used actually a lot of your stuff to kind of show what Kelly and Nussmeier were listening to, getting pissed off about what you were saying. So congrats to you for being the guy that gives him that fuel.
Well, I guess I'll have to see it now because it's just basically par for the course. It's a day that ends in Y.
And I'll say this: the cool part about it is there's been a lot of people that say like, "You didn't learn anything. You didn't know nothing." Like there are some cool behind the scenes stuff. Like I don't think that the world knows a lot about Whit Weeks, but like this, you're gonna love Whit Weeks if you watch this. If you don't already, like he's impossible to not like when you watch this. So there are things like that come out of this that are actually pretty cool.
I thought Whit would be the star of SEC Media Days. He's a great personality, never stops smiling, and when you combine the personality with the player, you have a winning combination. He's pretty awesome. If he stays healthy, I mean he could be All-American, Butkus, all that sort of stuff this year. He's pretty awesome.
All right, so we heard Brian Kelly, his updates on Garrett Nussmeier. Just downplaying this, not a big deal. Give us what you know. What are the updates of everything happening with this apparent knee injury right now?
Yeah, guys, I really think it's kind of a nothing burger. We were not, so just full disclosure, Brian Kelly has given the media great access. I don't know, I mean, y'all might know better than me. I don't know that this happens anywhere. Like we're going to practice today at 9:45. We get to watch the whole thing. So he lets us watch a ton. It just happens that last Wednesday, whenever this incident, whatever happened, there was a day we were not allowed in. And the way it was described to me was that Nussmeier had some discomfort and took himself out for a play. That's what was described to me that day. And the news, the rumor mill thing just grew and grew and grew. And I don't know, kind of like a game of telephone. Brian Kelly was not supposed to meet with reporters on Friday. We met with Joe Sloan, but after practice, before Sloan came in, Kelly came in unprompted and just gave his 3-minute update to clear the air. I mean, the one thing I would tell you to consider, guys, is, as Kelly said, this stems from a surgery Nuss had in 2023, which means he played all of last year with this same issue, and he threw for 4,000 yards. I think this feels really like a mountain out of molehill. Again, we get to go to media had access Saturday. Nuss participated fully. We get to go watch the full practice this morning. I anticipate he'll be out there. But one thing that'll certainly happen is if there is anything amiss, we'll all be looking for it now. But I really don't think that this is in any way not based on everything, not just what Brian Kelly said to us the other day, but the handful of people within the team and the program I've spoken to since last Wednesday. It really feels like this is not going to be anything that's limiting in any way.
This just is concerning to me regardless. I know he played with it last year, like you referenced, like all of that is fine. But in the event in which he's not an All-American candidate, what does that mean for LSU? Because he could have some limitations or be dealing with pain or whatever that may be. If for whatever reason his play regresses and he's not top 3 quarterback in the country, what does that mean for the team overall?
Yeah, it means they're going to fall short of their goals. There's just so much on his shoulder, and if he has to miss time, you know, guys, the reason they went into the portal and got Michael Van Buren from Mississippi State was they had to get somebody with experience in case, like, if Garrett Nussmeier is to miss any length of time, LSU's their entire framework of their goals are just recalibrated. But like, if Nuss turns an ankle and God forbid had to miss a quarter or a half, you have a guy that started 8 SEC games that could go in and function. But being out there and watching it, Michael Van Buren and Colin Hurley are young guys with some potential, but neither is anywhere remotely close to being ready or capable of winning at a high level for LSU right now. So like the most important thing, singular, there's not even a debate. The most important thing for LSU this year is keeping Garrett Nussmeier healthy and upright for 12 games in the regular season, whatever type of postseason run they may make. If he's not, then the entire landscape and focus and conversation around LSU changes this year.
Matt Moscona joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, does radio in Baton Rouge, covers the LSU Tigers, giving us some updates on injuries around LSU camp. We had other questions when we talked to you at SEC Media Days. One of those revolved around running back. How has that position performing so far through fall camp?
So the thing that Joe Sloan the word he has used over and over is explosive or explosives, trying to find explosives in the running game. And they've done that. What they haven't been able to do is the consistent 5, 6, 7 yard gash plays. We'll go watch these 11-on-11 periods, and you'll see TFL, you'll see stuff, and then boom, Caden Durham 45-yard touchdown run. I think having Durham a year older is important because he was really good last year. And Cole, I think you and I talked about that. I think you did the game against South Alabama where he dislocated his toes.
Yes.
And so he played half the season last year with a steel plate in his cleat to keep his foot flat to protect those toes, and still ran for 700 yards, which was impressive. But Caden Durham looks really good. But even on top of that, I think they have to find a way to be effective running the football. LSU, when I tell people the statistic, it blows their mind. LSU was 107th in the country in rushing offense a year ago.
Crazy.
107th. They were dead last in the SEC. And a big part of it was because they didn't have a receiver that could stretch the field, safeties lived in the box, and they were just unable to run. I think being very intentional in the portal, adding Nick Anderson, Barry, and Brown to go with a healthy Chris Hilton. Now they have guys that can threaten vertically, and I think that is going to soften up the running game. At least that's the hope for them. But the flip side of the conversation is, guys, you got 5 new starters on the offensive line. And cohesion in that unit is, I think, the single biggest question so far in fall camp for LSU.
Sounds like the defense, though, is coming along. Everything I read and a couple folks I talked to are like, dude, Harold Perkins looks great. And we've heard that before. But Brian Kelly has even been outspoken and talking about him improving from an instinct standpoint, from just knowing how to play, how to manipulate opposing offense in coverage. It sounds like he's been real good. We know he can get after the quarterback when he blitzes off the edge. But when you look at Harold Perkins and his role and how he could blossom into the star we always anticipated him becoming, it sounds like he's closer now, Matt, than he's ever been before. Have you heard some of that?
Well, I've seen it. I think, Greg, that the point is they're finally putting him in a position where he can do that. I mean, when we watched, and this isn't speculative, right? You just said it. When we saw Harold as a freshman, we all saw the ability.
Right.
Right? I mean, he was spying Bryce Young. He had the 4 sacks against Arkansas. I mean, he's awesome. But then Harold wanted to play off the ball. And in his mind, as I understand it, people close to him, he was trying to project to the NFL to show the NFL he could be a 3-down linebacker and play off the ball. But that's like asking a Ferrari to tow a trailer up a mountain. That's not what you were built for. He's not Devin White. He's not one of those big inside off-ball linebackers that can get caught up in the wash with 300-pound linemen and make plays. They're playing him this year at the star position, which is sort of that hybrid outside linebacker safety. And so we're seeing him just live in space. So that's why you're hearing all those reports, because it is happening. I mean, last week he picked off Nuss in 7-on-7. He had a sack in an 11-on-11 period where he came on the blitz. He made a beautiful play where they ran a tight end screen to Bauer Sharp in the right flat, and Perkins shed a block and made a TFL. I mean, he's doing all the things that he's sort of built, physically and instinctively to do. Now, can he stay healthy for a full season? Will it manifest? Will there be a temptation to move him around even more? We'll see whenever the season starts and they get into all that. But I mean, they're playing him right now in that star role, and it is a much more natural fit for his ability. So I think the expectations and the hype are probably warranted for him if they keep him in that spot.
Matt Moscona covers the LSU Tigers, joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline. Secondary, also a lot of new faces. That was a group that we had question marks about at media days coming into fall camp, but also a lot of veterans, guys that played a lot of football. Blake Baker feeling good, still questions. Where is he on this new LSU secondary?
I think the pass rush, from what we've seen, I think the pass rush is probably helping the secondary come along more quickly, because they went and invested so heavily in those ends and on the defensive line that they're causing so much disruption, it's helping the secondary. They're better. There's no doubt. I mean, I don't know that anyone's going to confuse this secondary with a secondary that has Patrick Peterson or Morris Claiborne, Derek Stingley, Tre'Davious White, Jamal Adams. Like, I don't know that I see the All-Americans in this secondary, but it's also not going to be the team from a couple of years ago where you're trying to make something out of Deuce Chestnut and Denver Harris, and it's just like literally the worst defense in the history of the program. Mansour Delane was a 2-year starter at Virginia Tech. I think he's going to start opposite Ashton Stamps, who's now in his 3rd year at LSU. But guys, the name, if I was going to give you a name, it's AJ Halsey, and I know nobody's going to know that name, but the thing LSU did this year in the portal was so intentional, is they went and got a bunch of veteran college football players. And Halsey's a guy that's played in 36 games with 33 starts. He was first team All Big 12 last year at Houston, led the conference in interceptions. He was a spring portal ad, so he was not even here for spring football, meaning so he's just basically done a week of fall camp. He already looks like the best safety on the team. Thick dude who can help in run coverage. He's a very instinctive player. It's a guy who, like, coming out of high school was a 3-star and nobody knew, but from the time you go from 18 to 21, a lot of times guys develop and get better. And he's a case in point of that. I mean, they were very intentional to go get old, veteran, experienced college football players in the portal. And if you're looking in the secondary, that's a guy who's a name I think people are probably going to get to know pretty well this year, because he looks the part.
I don't think there's any doubts. Any other big surprises for you? Anything else that you've it's really opened your eyes, be it positive or negative, with fall camp so far there in Baton Rouge?
We have gotten to see a bunch of special teams. Damian Ramos is back. He's been the place kicker since Kelly showed up. He's had a little accuracy issues. That's something to watch. But the biggest question, guys, is on the offensive line. I mean, they're literally going to have 5 starters in new positions. I mean, you had 4 guys drafted. DJ Chester's the only returning starter, and he's moving from center to guard. So Cole, you could probably speak better to this. When they do these individual, like, pass rush periods, the offensive line wins a ton. When they go team period, it's like the defense wears purple, the offense wears white. It's like a purple avalanche, just this wave falling on the offense. So it tells me that the talent's good on the offensive line, but the cohesion of those 5 trying to play as one is still got a ways to go.
Yeah, you might not know. You might not know the answer to this because it may not be showing up. But, like, how much are they doing when they go to team? Is it typical Blake Baker and they're mixing it up and they're bringing the house or doing different?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well then there's
Oh yeah. Well, I don't think Blake Baker knows another speed.
No,
man.
yeah, no,
no,
but I mean, like we talked about Hugh Freeze saying, hey, we tell DJ, calm it down because I need my quarterback to look good. I need him to build confidence.
Yeah.
Now, it sounded like it was the opposite over the weekend, but I mean, the head coach can still say, hey, sit in base. Let's see how this looks. But my thought to that would be, I don't like that for the defense in one-on-ones because that is, as Greg will tell you, that is a drill that leans defense. The defensive linemen should win most of your one-on-ones. They don't have to worry about quarterback run. They don't have to worry about quarterback scramble. There's no keeping the quarterback in the pocket. You can bull rush and not have to worry about a guy stepping up or stepping outside in the pocket. None of that is of any concern. There's no guard. If you bull rush, it's going to come break your ribs. You don't have to worry about that. But boy, that would bother me in team if guys couldn't pass stuff off. So that would tell me that the understanding of the defense and scheme is probably great.
Probably.
And they're probably an unselfish group, but individually might not be the scariest group of pass rushers that you've got, which can be okay based on how they operate.
We'll see, man. They are, you look at Patrick Payton coming in from Florida State. He's a guy that's proven. Jack Pyburn coming in from Florida. They got bodies and dudes that have done it, man. I'll be
But that's why I thought Pyburn was such a good get. Like Pyburn's a battering ram. Like he just wants to crack skulls. He wants to trade paint. And so if you say, hey man, if you go down inside, this guard's not going to be expecting it. You're going to be able to tee off on him. Now you're probably not getting the sack.
Yeah.
But by God, it's going to feel good. And you're going to make him look really bad on film. Like Pyburn feels like a guy that would accept that role with open arms. Like same thing with Whit Weeks. I mean, I don't know if Patrick Payton feels like that kind of guy for me, but like he went and got some guys that are going to be able to fill that role extremely well.
Another guy who's been impressive, whose a name like people won't know, is they got another spring portal guy from South Florida named Bernard Gooden, and he's 6'1", 268, and you wouldn't think that plays in the SEC, but remember they brought in Kyle Williams as the defensive line coach, and Kyle wants guys that look like him and play like him. And there's been times where it's been like a turnstile with Bernard Gooden getting into the backfield. So it's just interesting. That's another guy that's played. He's a fifth-year guy. It's just.
I'll tell you this, Matt. I'll tell you
so much ball.
I'll tell you a quick story. So when I played against Georgia in my career, I played against Kendrell Bell, who was the National Football League Defensive Player of the Year, his rookie year. I played against Richard Seymour, who's in the Hall of Fame, Marcus Stroud. They had just NFL guys everywhere. And then my junior year, later in the game, they bring in a dude named Josh Mallard. And he played nose guard in their bear look. And Josh Mallard asked Matt Stinchcomb who gave more guys more problems in practice of all those dudes I just mentioned. And he'll tell you 98 was the dude that nobody wanted to go against. And he was a probably 6'1", 270-pound white dude. But he had legit wiggle, and like he had quicks, man. And like he just knew how to set you up and get you beat the other way. I remember coming off the field because my offensive line coach at that time was at Georgia prior and played at Georgia. And he just came off with this smirk on his eye. He's like, I told you that dude was a handful. And he's like, he's more than he appears on film. And I was like, good Lord. I remember the first time Stinch and I ever talked about it, he just started dying laughing. So, like, there's dudes like that, man, that are they just know how to get it done. It's like Willie Lampkin over the weekend. Everybody's peeing their pants about Willie Lampkin because the dude's 5'11", 275. But it's like when you watched him at North Carolina, he knows how to play center. Like, he knows leverage. He knows body control. He knows hand placement. It's like, it's no surprise that it works. Like, some guys just know how to make it work, man. And if he's one of those guys, like, by the way, Greg and I hadn't talked about that name much at all. But if he helps them, that'll be huge for that defense.
They just the way I've described it to everybody with this LSU team, and I understand every bit of skepticism because until Brian Kelly gets over the hump and does it, he hasn't done it, and that's an earned moniker. This program went so all in the transfer portal with their additions and the money they spent. It's like what Ole Miss did a year ago. They saw an opportunity. Fifth-year senior quarterback, like, we got the money, let's go spend it. That's what they did. They added 19 dudes that make them better at every level on both sides of the ball. I'm not telling you they're going undefeated. I'm not telling you they're winning the national championship. I'm just telling you that this program this year, their expectation is you better be in the playoff. With all the investment into this roster, and to surround Nussmeier with the pieces to be able to win it, like, they are all in to be there this year. And if they're not, it will be a massive failure if this team doesn't find its way into a 12-team playoff.
Yep. And we air in Montgomery, actually. And I think Gooden's a Montgomery kid, if I'm not mistaken, at South Florida. So we appreciate you bringing that name up. Always great stuff, Matt. Thanks for hopping on, and we'll do it again soon.
All right, guys. We'll see you.
There you go. Matt Moscona joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline, talking LSU. We'll come back, Greg, and kind of run through some of that, what that does for our opinion of LSU, maybe how it changes it for good or bad, all next right here on Jox. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. It is 8:48. Monday, August 11th, right here on Jox 94.5. You can listen online, joxfm.com. App is in your app store, iPhone, Android. Download that for free. Tell your home smart speaker to enable the Jox skill and watch live each and every day on YouTube. Just search Jox 945.
Bill Smith Buick GMC is the GMC dealer of the year, the national champion of GMC dealers. All you got to do is take the short drive up to Coleman. You'll understand why. The deals are off the charts good. You can get GMC Sierra SLT up to $14,000 off the sticker. You can get an Encore, Buick Encore GX. That's a sporty, economical SUV. You can get $5,000 off that sticker price, get you out the door for under $25,000. It's the reason why 75% of their business is repeat customers is because you have a better experience when you shop with Bill Smith. I'm a repeat customer. I think you will be too. The second you take the short drive up to Coleman, see all those GMC Dealer of the Year trophies all on display, 8 overall, 5 in a row. They are a dynasty right up there in Coleman. Off I-65, exit 310, Highway 31. You can also shop online, have it delivered right to your driveway at BillSmithBuickGMC.com.
All right, when we come back, what does it mean for Garrett Nussmeier, him dealing with this, maybe missing some practice reps that we got from Matt Moscona, also a couple of some other tidbits about LSU that he dropped on us. We'll get to all of that next right here on Jox. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning, 8:52. Monday, August 11th, right here on Jox. We're going to continue talking to LSU, some of what we took away from Matt Moscona that he dropped on us a few moments ago. First, if you want to be a part of the Jox kickoff party coming up here soon, John, how can our listeners do it?
You can celebrate the kickoff to college football with us at Jox 94.5 at the Bill Smith Buick GMC Jox kickoff party at Regents Field on Thursday, August 21st. And the only way to go is by winning tickets. To win a pair for you and a guest, text the keyword SCORE and your full name to 205-834-9450. That's keyword SCORE and your full name to 205-834-9450. Winners are drawn daily and notified daily. For more information, visit joxfm.com.
All right, so let's go back to first what Matt Moscona said about Garrett Nussmeier, GMAC, and going back to what Brian Kelly dropped on this deal. So tendonitis, and Brian Kelly did later in his press conference emphasize that the tendonitis was in the patella tendon, as a reporter tried to get a little bit deeper into the actual injury and I guess try to uncover if something else was going on. I thought that was good by BK. But there is a procedure that apparently he had on his Osgood-Schlatters disease or syndrome, which I have had, and I can tell you this, it is not fun. Now, I thought that was for like a growth spurt, growth plate issue that was for like younger kids.
Yeah.
But when mine used to get hit, I mean, it would put me down. Like you would cry. It was bad. And it's there on the tibial tuberosity of your tibia, like right on the front. And that's where the patella tendon attaches. And so I can imagine if he's dealing with that, like later in life, it could still be painful, still be an issue. But are you in full belief that this is as minor as Brian Kelly wants us to believe it is?
I mean, I'm hopeful. I hope that that's the case, but it is of concern. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and sound the alarm, but I'm worried about it. If you want me to be honest, like, are you worried? Just because of how important he is to the expectations for LSU this year?
I don't want to hear anything about my quarterback not being 100%.
Ever.
So that concerns me slightly. But I guess since I have a little bit of understanding of this injury and things close to it, I'm not terrified by it. I'm not overly concerned with it. So because of that, I'll give it a pass for now. He can manage this right now. He can deal with this right now, and then we'll sort of see where it goes.
Yeah.
But I'm not concerned about it right now.
So kind of the same thing, like not sounding the alarm, but of concern for sure.
What about how Matt Moscona discussed the defense with us, that specifically pass rush drills individually, defense not getting home, but in team, it looks like they dominate. Were you on board with me there that it's probably good news for the defense and their understanding of what they're doing, but individually, probably not the best news because they need to be winning some of those one-on-ones.
Well,
that's usually a defensive dominated drill.
Yeah, I would like to think that the defense would dominate that, but if we're going to take the other side of the coin and find the silver lining, offensive line is our biggest question mark. And sounds like things are doing okay on a one-on-one basis, right?
That's where I would be. But you brought in some defensive guys that should thrive in pressures, stunts, blitzes, sort of helping other guys do things well because they fit that role, they fit that vibe. But individually, I also want my guys to be able to get home. I mean, Blake Baker's going to move and blitz, so I guess at the end of the day, it still works. All right, welcome back in. Hour number 3, Mac and Cube in the morning. We're going to continue kind of whipping around SEC camps, what we heard, what we saw from over the weekend, finishing up with LSU. It feels like Garrett Nussmeier are going to be okay. There was a lot of chatter, talk on the injury maybe being worse than it was. Patella tendonitis, apparently where Brian Kelly is going to go, and just sort of leave it there. And I don't think that there's any reason to speculate that it should be worse. Defense and team looking pretty good individually, maybe not as good, but when you have some guys that are maybe hard hat guys, try hard, work hard guys, and a little undersized, I mean, sometimes that fits the bill. And I think that's kind of what that defense is going to need to be this year anyway, G-Mac. I mean, it's not going to be an individually dominant defense. And I think that's a misconception because people say, oh, well, Whit Weeks takes over games or Harold Perkins can take over games. Well, if they do, it's mostly going to be because of the situations and the spots that defense puts them in and allows them to be those guys. It's not that just they line up in one-on-ones all the time and crush the guy in front of them. That's not how that defense really operates.
Well, I mean, it is one of those things, though, with this defense where in a perfect world, right, you don't have to do a bunch of the chaos, the havoc. You just have guys that can get to their own shot. Like, why do you think the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were as good as they were on defense? Because they had Booger McFarland and Warren Sapp that could get their own shot up front. They would play Tampa 2, and Derek Brooks would just patrol the middle of the field. Like, they ran the same play over and over again because you couldn't block them up front. They were able to drop 7 and be fine in coverage. So in a perfect world, you would have guys that can get your own shot. Yeah, that'd be great, but life is not perfect, and sometimes you do need to create some havoc. So sounds like if they do have guys that can maybe go and get it, that'd be awesome, but maybe it's not necessary based on how Blake wants to run it.
Well, also it sounds like offensive line for now is still going to be one of our bigger concerns for that football team, especially when you're talking about potentially winning a national championship. Okay, moving around the SEC, going to a couple of different spots. Over at Ole Miss, one of the, I guess, thoughts that we had, concerns that we had heading into this was going to be at tight end. Maybe a little bit of a new answer at tight end with Caleb Oden getting reps there, his impact on the offense so far.
I'm just doing whatever they tell me to do, being available to play all positions on the offense side of the field just so I can be a, playmaker anywhere from the field. But, anywhere they put me, I'm going to give them my all, know what to do and make plays for sure.
That's a guy, Greg, that if asked to, I think physically, because it's that offense, could fit that bill and could be that guy. Now, this is a wide receiver that's 6'5", 225, 230, transfers from Alabama, but he's physically a guy that in that offense could I could see being a move tight end. They've had a few that have been pretty good there that haven't been the most devastating blockers. It's not really what you need to be. It's nice if you can be. I mean, Priestcorn added some pretty good physicality with just the effort that he gave you there. But, you go back at Michael Trigg, he wasn't blowing guys off the ball. So I think Odom
that was not his specialty.
Yeah, Odom could be a good fit there. Having some injury issues so far at tight end, he could be somebody that helps him out.
Well, I look at it, and his length is a problem. And knowing that they are without Haas, you kind of need that guy to step up that could be a bit of an issue. Like you said, he doesn't need to be a devastating blocker, just get in the way. And he's a guy that's versatile enough where you can line him up on the outside. You'd tell me right now, he's got to go out and he gets, I got a linebacker or I got a safety on him. Now I know it's man coverage. And I like that matchup. You got to kind of cover him with a corner. So that means it's going to be a little unique. So I think having a guy like that is extremely valuable. And his length is a huge problem in the red zone as well.
I don't think there's any doubt. And that's kind of how they've used that position and what that position has been a lot of times for Lane Kiffin or whoever else he's had in there assisting and coordinating that offense. Also, Caleb Oden just on Kiffin and how the offense has been navigating fall camp.
I feel like Coach Kiffin puts us in the best position to make plays. He's an offensive genius, and all of us out there are in the best position for sure. So I think the offense is amazing.
There will be questions with this offense, Craig, but you and I both very impressed with Austin Simmons at SEC Media Days and just how he presented himself and what it appears as he'll be. We've seen a very small sample size of what he can be in game, but he might have a nice group of running backs around him. We like Logan Diggs if he's healthy. You got a couple new guys coming in. We saw how that worked out last year. We didn't really get what we thought we were going to get with some of those guys in the backfield. The receivers are going to be fine. Caleb Odom, we just heard, might be going to tight end, so you have another weapon you can move in different ways. It sounds kind of similar to what we just said with LSU. This offense might be as good as the offensive line allows it to be, or this offense might be held back as much as the offensive line holds it back.
Well, are you worried about the offensive line? Like,
how could you not be?
But I don't feel like they weren't great last year. We know that, right? And they won a lot of games. And I know in short yardage it got a little dicey. But do you really think that with this style of offense, with how they attack people, you have to be great along the offensive line?
You don't have to be great. No, you can't get your quarterback killed on consecutive downs like they did last year. And last year they were supposed to be a lot better.
Right.
Like this was a group that they upgraded the physicality. They went and got good experience. And yeah, Diego Pounds is back. He was there last year. He wasn't great last year. He just wasn't. He needs to get in shape. He needs to cut the weight down. You go get Percy Lewis from Auburn. Percy Lewis hasn't been good at Mississippi State or Auburn. And now you go back in time, if you want to hop in that DeLorean, Auburn fans will tell you they solved all their problems when they brought Percy Lewis in. Look how big. All the problems at tackle were solved. Whoa, 6'7", 380. That's not great. So that problem's not been solved for me. Patrick Kudus has been pretty good in this league. He's got experience in the SEC. I haven't seen him dominating people on a regular basis.
No.
So, yeah, it's still a question for me. I understand they can circumvent it. I get that. I know that.
Better than most.
Yeah, the tempo is going to help a lot. Getting the ball out is going to help. The RPO game is going to help a lot. But as you know.
But what lost them games last year?
Not being able to, number one, sit on leads. And like you said, short yardage, situational football. So that's where they've got to find a way to grow. Let's go back to what we talked about with Tennessee early last year. What was their entire offseason emphasis going into last year? We want to be able to be a little bit more ground and pound, a little bit more physical, essentially win in a different way.
Yes.
Because they ran into the exact same problems. Like, yes, we can put our receivers 4 inches from both sidelines and we can spread you out. But at some point in time, we're going to be able to, we got to knock heads and pick up 3 yards or a yard, one singular yard.
Uno.
And at times couldn't do it. And that's how you win games a lot of times in this league.
Yeah, situational football, like getting that extra yard necessary in a fourth. And how often they go for it on fourth down, like you're going to have to ground and pound some folks. And last year you had challenges at running back. Hopefully that's no longer a concern. And you also had to take a defensive tackle and put them there for short yardage. How many teams feel great about handing it to a defensive tackle in short yardage? I mean, it's not what you want.
If it's William Perry in the Super Bowl, I feel great. Other than that, not so great.
Look at me. Look at me. Look at me. So I don't think the offensive line is going to be as challenged as they were a year ago. I also think, with all due respect to Jackson Dart occasionally held it a little bit too long and tried to do occasionally a little too much when it comes to being creative and extending plays in the backfield. I don't think Austin Simmons is that kind of player. I think he's going to be a little more decisive. I think he's going to get the ball out. I think he might throw more picks. But I also think he's probably going to be real urgent in getting the ball out. Just watching him and looking at how decisive he was against Georgia in that one series. I know it's a small sample size, but man, that sample size was impressive with how decisive he was. So I think he can help them out a little bit too. Whereas Jackson would occasionally put those guys in a tough spot because he's running around buying time, putting them in a tough spot. And all the things that made Jackson great also made it harder on the offensive line. Is that fair?
It is, but I think Jackson did some of those things because he knew they couldn't run the ball. By the way, Jackson Dart, 12-19, 154, touchdown, no picks. Ran 3 times for 24 yards this weekend against the Bills. The vaunted Bills defense.
Bills.
34-25 win.
Bills.
You hate him still?
I don't hate him. I never hated him.
You've hated Jackson Dart for a long time. It's okay.
I just don't think he's like the greatest player of all time. Just like I hated Will Rogers, according to you. Just because I don't think he's going in the Hall of Fame doesn't mean he's not a good college football player. Like I think Jackson was a really good college football player, and I think he's in a good situation in the NFL. I like the marriage between him and Brian Dable. I think it's great. So I'm excited about what he's going to do. I just think there were times he tried to do a little too much, and there were times he tried to run around. And I just wish things would happen with him. My whole issue with him from the get-go is always like, I just wish he played a little bit faster. I wish there was a little more urgency. And you know what? That's okay, because if you're going to mold the offense around slower developing plays, that's fine. You could do that. But I think Austin Simmons plays fast. Like, that ball gets out, and that'll help the offensive line. So it's not a knock on Jackson.
He's a bit of a lumberer, though.
Jackson?
Like the delivery, the
100%.
running. Like
everything's a little too slow for me.
No, he doesn't have, dare I say, any twitch.
He's just not a twitchy player.
No, he's not twitchy.
Which, by the way, is fine.
I think he's twitchless. But I still love him.
You can love him all you. I love him too. He's just a little bit. Everything is just a half step slower than I want it to be.
Yeah.
Which is, guess what? He's a first round pick. Like, I'm expecting him to be all world, right? Your first round pick, you expect to be an all world. So hold him to a higher standard than I do most other guys, because I think it's in there. So hopefully it happens in the league. But
yeah,
that's the one thing. I just think that the indicator of their challenges offensive line last year was a little bit dependent on quarterback. But man, in short yardage, when you got to trick people to death, it's an indicator from your own coaching staff. Man, we don't really trust that group. So I'm hoping that this year's group is maybe a little bit more capable of just obvious ground and pound when needed. And the backs will help that too.
Yeah.
Let's be real. The backs last year were disappointing.
I still think Ole Miss a little bit of a question mark heading into the season. And that's because of some of the strengths that we discussed are just not going to be strengths this upcoming season. That they can't be. The defensive line's not going to be close to what it was last year. The Uman Mielen that's there now is not what the Uman Mielen they had last year was or is going to be. Just not. It's just not going to work. Not going to be that. So I think you have to have a little bit of concerns with where it's going to go, what it's going to be, what it's going to look like. But I think some parts that people have other questions about Greg could actually end up being really good, mainly quarterback, running back, receivers, plural. And that could include a hybrid tight end receiver in Caleb Odom. So I think there's some parts that could end up being better than we think. It's just, is that going to be able to offset the questions? That's where we are. So many teams right now in college football. So many teams that just, it looks like it could be really good. It looks like it could be okay. It looks like it could be decent. We got Bruce Feldman coming up in about 8 minutes to discuss his annual Freaks list. There are some players from in-state. There are some players on teams we discussed today that we will get with him. There's another team that we have a lot of questions about. Quarterback, maybe not so much offensive line, receiver, even though he says he doesn't. Eli Drinkwitz discussing the scrimmage over the weekend for the Missouri Tigers and what his takeaways were.
Saw some really good things and saw some things that frustrate you. I think the biggest takeaway for me offensively was 0 turnovers. The quarterbacks didn't turn the ball over today, which I thought was good. Defense did a really nice job and backed up. I think they had 2 safeties, which I thought was really good. Red zone was pretty even. I thought the defense got the better part of them in the open field for the most part. Right there at the end of the game, Sam gave his group a chance to tie it with the field goal, and the field goal didn't convert. But then right there, Bo took him down and scored a touchdown. So it was a good job by both quarterbacks. You know, was really looking to see if we had some separation today, and I honestly just didn't see it. They're both playing really good football right now. So we'll go into next week and keep the battle going.
So that make you feel better, worse about any specific part of this Missouri team that you either like, don't like heading into the season?
No, I'm really curious to see how this thing plays out, because this is not the quarterback competition that we anticipated. Like, I thought it was going to be Prebula, and at media days, Eli obviously very outspoken about what the quarterback competition is looking like and how the confidence he has in both guys. So I think it's really interesting, and probably, granted, Missouri doesn't necessarily move the needle nationally like some other programs. I mean, we're spending hours, every single week, I feel like, talking about Ohio State's quarterback battle, and not as many people talking about Missouri's, but I think it's in the top 3 or 4 quarterback battles in the country right now. One of the most intriguing ones, where it sounds like both guys they feel real confident in, which is great. Great spot to be.
Yes. All right. So we still wonder a little bit what that quarterback situation is going to look like in Columbia. We don't know exactly where that's headed. Could be one that goes possibly a game or 2 into the season. One thing that we do know is that if you have any issues with your flooring, Shannara Flooring is who you need to call.
Yeah, Fu and his guys have built their entire company around trust and integrity, and I think you guys will know exactly what you mean when you have them out to your home. They have tremendous, tremendous staff. guys that are great at what they do, take great pride in what they do. And the inventory is off the charts as well. 40,000 square feet of Core-Tec flooring by Shaw in stock, which is phenomenal. That, I think, is something that'll upgrade your home, upgrade your business. If you want to replace old carpet, go with that Core-Tec flooring and get $10 off per box right now, so you can really stack the savings if you purchase that Core-Tec flooring by Shaw right now. You get 12 months financing. So go and check out all the options by going to Shannara Flooring online, by going to fooandyou.com. That's fooandyou.com.
I'm asking you a two-part question about Missouri quickly before we go to break, and we'll have Bruce Feldman on the other side. Where are you most confident with the Missouri Tigers right now?
I think the thing I'm most confident is their offensive identity and being able to run the football.
Yeah, Ahmad Hardy coming in, Caden Green, Connor Tollison back on that offensive line. You at least went and got some capable bodies to come in and help there. Plus, you've got Brett Norfleet helping at tight end, who's great in the run game. So I wouldn't venture far from that because we know Kirby Moore's going to do a great job. Drink helping there. It's going to be good. It is. And I think I wouldn't venture too far from that. I actually feel like one of the places I'm most confident with this group is the front seven. I think adding Damon Wilson to that group,
huge.
If they can get him going on a consistent basis, that front seven with McClellan, Zion Young, Sterling Webb's got a chance to be really good.
Well, the other thing that's I think also really beneficial, you cannot talk about how bullish you are on Missouri without referencing what they have on the schedule. Their first 6 games are at home. There were 6 teams last year in the SEC that had losing records in conference. They play 5 of those 6. So I think, the schedule, I think, is really helpful. So if they are working some new pieces in, having 6 straight games to start the season at home, pretty good place to start. So they don't go on the road until they go play Auburn on the 18th of October. Pretty good place to start. So I think you look at their ability to run the football. I agree with you completely with the addition of Damon Wilson. That was a great one. I think they have plenty of talent up front defensively. I like some of the back end additions as well. But the way the schedule sets up, they can really grow into themselves. Is kind of what I'm getting at. Like, yeah, you got to play well against Kansas for sure, but they can grow into themselves a little bit as the season goes along.
All right, so there's sort of your camp update from around the SEC, multiple injury updates, hearing from some different coaches, players on kind of where things are going. When we come back, Bruce Feldman on his annual Freaks list. You're going to want to hear about some of these players in the SEC and across college football. He does it every year. It's one of the best things that comes out. We'll discuss it right after this on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Appreciate you guys tuning in. 9:21 Monday, August 11th, right here on Jox. Going to get to Bruce Feldman here in just a moment. Before we do that, Greg, tell our listeners how great Bromberg's is.
Well, Bromberg's is great. It's been a place I've been going for a very long time. Always appreciate the experience that I have when dealing with their top-of-the-line sales staff. Just a beautiful, beautiful jewelry that they have in their store. And right now, they're actually upgrading the Mountain Brook store to enhance your experience and elevate your experience even higher. I didn't know it could get much higher because it's just so great all the time. Highly recommend you go and checking out Bromberg's. Buy something that might last a lifetime, might last multiple lifetimes. It'll keep it in your family for a generation plus. Go and check them out in Mountain Brook Village and at the Summit. It's Bromberg's.
All right, this is one of the best things that you see any college football season leading into the regular season, and that is Bruce Feldman's Freaks List, because you just learn about some guys and some of the things that they do that are just mind-blowing. And I don't think anybody would be surprised, Bruce, that Jeremiah Smith would be number one on your list. And honestly, I'm not sure if we would need to know anything about him off the field that was crazy and ridiculous that he does. Just watching him play football feels like qualifies him to be number one on your list.
Yeah, I would tell some of my colleagues last year who hadn't seen him in person, until you see him from field level, you don't realize how much different he is than all the other college receivers you typically see or even saw at Ohio State in recent years, where they're just producing one elite receiver after another. I mean, the crazy things for me are a guy who's hitting 23.5 miles per hour, broad jump at 11 feet, but you see the strength. And when I talked to him a couple of weeks back, I said, of all the freaky feats and numbers you put up, what's the thing you're most proud of? And he said it's his strength. He went from benching 2.25, 5 reps last year to 20 reps now. And that's a pretty significant jump, especially for a guy who's only 1 year out of high school to be that strong at that position. I mean, he's just a remarkable athlete, and obviously you're seeing it all on the field as well.
Just to put this in perspective quickly. So Ohio State's telling you that he hit 23.5 on the GPS. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Tyreek Hill has the fastest next-gen speed recorded in an NFL game in 2016 of 23.25, just to like make folks aware of what we're talking about here and how incredibly insane that is for this dude that weighs, 223 to be hitting that on a GPS.
And well over 6'3", and like I said, the broad jump 11 feet. It's just crazy all the stuff he can do. He squats 550. I mean, it's just remarkable to see this guy. The only comparison I had for him for a while was Andre Johnson was a great receiver at Miami. He's obviously in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Similar size, incredible strength, incredible toughness, and the determination and all those other intangibles, I think are really what is pushing him to be so special.
It's ridiculous to think about some of the numbers. I mean, Julio Jones comes to mind for me, but man, anytime you're getting mentioned alongside Hall of Famers, pretty good spot to start. What were some of the biggest takeaways? Seems like there's a handful of teams with a few guys on there, and it's kind of amazing to see some of these numbers. But of all the most jaw-dropping statistics that you came up with these strength coaches, what was the one that kind of took you aback the most?
Who was the Alex Orji pistol squat from last year?
It's actually, so I got numbers from Alabama probably a month ago or maybe, 6 weeks ago. And then I just checked in with Kalen DeBoer and then, with his strength coach. And he got back to me about, so I've never had 3 guys from the same offensive line on the freaks list before. I do with Alabama. But the numbers that they sent back on not just the power numbers on Caden Proctor, the left tackle, but the jump numbers blew my mind when I saw it. Because, again, you're talking about a guy who's 6'7", 366 pounds. The squat numbers, he's well over 800 pounds. He benches 535, power cleans over 400 pounds. All that's, remarkable. But, again, he's 366. The crazy thing was when I saw that he vertical jumped 32 inches, and I'm trying to put that into context for being a guy that big. Now, plenty of guys on the football field, not plenty, but probably a handful, are going to jump more than 32 inches. But at 366, I went back and looked. The NFL Combine, there were 5 receivers who either didn't jump as high or just hit 32. One of them was LeJohntay Wester from Colorado, who had like an 85-yard punt return in a preseason game this past weekend. He's 203 pounds less than Caden Proctor, and he jumped the same height. That's mind-blowing for a guy to be that big and that explosive.
No, it's ridiculous. And you've got Parker Brailsford on there, who I feel like most people would immediately go to like a Jaden Roberts or Caden Proctor because of just their size. But Brailsford may be more impressive because of the things he's doing under 300 pounds in that weight room.
Yeah, I mean, when he came to Washington, he's an Arizona kid. He seemed like he was really, really undersized, but he was a heck of a player for them early. He's 290. His body fat's 19%, which, as you know, Cole, that's not common to be that low for in the O-line room. He's a 500-pound bencher, but he vertical jumps 33 inches. He hit almost 19.5 miles per hour. Again, and this guy is almost 300 pounds. I mean, he's terrific at player, but you also see the strength numbers backs it up. I mean, go back to some of the offensive linemen Iowa have had who might have been slightly undersized, but just super explosive and strong, and Brailsford's definitely in that category.
What about looking at some of the other teams in the SEC? You got a handful of guys that are just jaw-dropping numbers, and the amount of information we have now with miles per hour and all this stuff is just crazy, the technology that surrounds it. But outside of some of the Alabama numbers amongst the offensive line, what did you kind of learn about maybe the skill positions in the SEC?
Yeah, there's definitely a couple of guys. I've had Chris Hilton from LSU, great high school jumper. I mean, one of the most explosive athletes in all of college football, and a guy who's, hadn't really been able to stay healthy. If he can, obviously that's going to be a huge piece for Garrett Nussmeier and LSU because they already got a super athletic receiver room with the transfers they brought in. Definitely a guy to keep an eye on. Then the one who I feel like flies below the radar a little bit, maybe not, to the diehard SEC fans, but nationally, Eli Stowers came to Texas A&M as a 4-star quarterback, and he transferred, ended up at New Mexico State, was there with Pavia, did pretty well, changed positions, became a tight end. He's an undersized tight end at 235, but he's 6'4", was a Texas high school high jump champ. He broad jumps 11.3, vertical jumps almost 40 inches. He's a guy NFL people are really excited about because I think they see the versatility and the ability as a matchup problem. And I think as Vanderbilt has ascended a little bit last year with Pavia, I think he's a guy people are gonna get to know a lot more if they can sustain it and build off last year.
Well, the thing about Stowers is he's got legit ball skills too, for going from quarterback to playing tight end. I don't know what the ball skills look like for CC Ezram at Toledo.
Yeah.
But 6'7", 245 with a 39-inch vertical running 22 miles an hour. If he can catch 1 out of 10 passes, I feel like he should be a first rounder doing these things. Like, what kind of football player is this? Like, I got to go watch him today and find something on him.
Yeah, the head coach there, Jason Candle. Now remember, Toledo's had some freaky guys in recent years.
Sure.
Quinyon Mitchell turned out, was a terrific corner for them. He's already lighting it up for the Eagles. Darius Alexander, really good player. Defensive lineman, was in the draft last year. Ezram is really blossomed physically. And so Candle told me, he thinks this is the year he breaks out. He broad jumps almost 11 feet. It's just like, I usually don't have MAC guys that high up, but, the track record on Toledo Freaks, it's a good program. It has a chance to be, I don't know if I would say they have real playoff hopes, but if he takes the next step and they have a young linebacker who's also in the top 50 on my Freaks list, who they're really excited about, got hurt last year, but is a guy that they think is going to be an NFL talent for sure down the road.
Looking at some of it's amazing how you can find some of these guys, but when you get a guy like Toledo, for example, are the coaches like, don't tell anybody? Because now it's like, it's harder than ever to keep these guys at the G5 level when their name gets put in the Freaks list, every single one of these coaches is reading it and they're like, golly, why are they don't talk about my guy, Bruce? Like, you have some reaction like that?
The best story on that was a few years ago, Jeff Traylor, the head coach at UTSA, said, hey, when is this going to run? And I said, well, and we started talking about the dates, and He goes, if it runs in August, I got a guy. And then it was Tariq Woolen. And when he told me the numbers, he's 6'4", he's a 11-foot broad jump guy. He's going to run in the 4.3s. And I couldn't believe the numbers. Well, Tariq Woolen ended up blowing up. He did everything he told me he was going to do at the combine. Ended up having a terrific rookie year for the Seahawks. But I think if I had done that, we'd run the freak system earlier in the summer. I'm not sure he would have told me about it, because I think the worry is a guy like that is definitely getting poached by a bigger program.
And it probably has happened here, but like I look at these numbers from Jeff Caldwell, who's going to Cincinnati from Lindenwood, which is a school that not a lot of people are going to talk about. The Lindenwood Lions and what like their guys are doing. 6'4", 208, 11.9 broad jump. I don't know what the combine record is for any position, but I've never seen a kid go 11.9 on any broad jump.
The crazy thing of all the combine stuff, and this is a story I feel like I want to do someday, and I probably should, is the combine record in the broad jump is 12.3 by Byron Jones. He was a cornerback at UConn who ended up playing for the Cowboys. That's actually like the world record, because, the broad jump is not like the 100-meter dash. It's not like some of these other things where it's gotten, it's like an Olympic event or anything. It's something we probably all did as kids, and certainly the NFL uses as a metric for explosiveness. But that's not far off the world record. It's, just a few inches away. So, again, this is a receiver with really good size. He was a Division II player. I think he's originally from Louisville. Scott Satterfield, the head coach of Cincinnati, had been at Louisville. They knew about him, and I guess, they need him, because I think this is a coach who's got a lot of pressure on him, and they need a difference maker receiver. And Lord knows he has explosiveness to beat that guy.
There were a couple other guys that surprised me when looking at a few of these, and one that stood out was Bryce Young at Notre Dame. And Notre Dame's got a couple of guys on here, whatnot, but he's of course son of great 49er player Bryant Young. And his mom
definitely would have made the list when he was in college.
1,000,000%.
Biggest quads all time.
100%. And his mom was a track star. So he's sitting at 6'7", 270, jumping nearly 35 and broad jump 9.5, coupled with what I think is the most impressive at 6'7", cleaning 335. That is ridiculous to get the bar that high. What do you think is likely for him, and in particular the Notre Dame defense as a whole?
Yeah, he's put on almost 30 pounds since he's been there. All those numbers are impressive, especially when you consider he's really only 1 year into a college weight program.
Yeah.
And, talking to Marcus Freeman, he thinks he has a chance to take a big step forward. I mean, they've upgraded the athleticism on the defense considerably, just in recent years. And he's a guy I think they're counting on to be much more of an impact guy. He made some plays last year. I think he had some, he had some impact as a freshman, as a true freshman going in there. But I think they see down the road, and we're not that far from being down the road for him, to be a guy who can be a dominant force because of the length he has, because of the explosiveness he has. And again, the genetics are about as good as you can get when you talked about his parents, what they were at Notre Dame, and certainly what Bryant Young was in the NFL.
Lenore Sellers is on your list, and I think a lot of people wouldn't be too surprised about it. But what was the most surprising portion with him? The strength numbers? I don't think 22 on the GPS, which is fast, by the way. Like fast. That's DB fast. So, but it's at 245, that's moving. But was it the strength numbers about him that were probably most surprising?
No, for me, it honestly was the body fat number. I mean, he's 6'3", 245, and only has 7% body fat. And so, I'll be honest, a couple of years ago, you had, I remember Arkansas's quarterback, KJ Jefferson, was a really good player and was listed around that, 6'3", 245. And when I saw him out here when he was training in San Diego, he looked like he was like 6'3", 275. Like he was a big man. He almost looked like what you expect like a high school guard to look like or something. And I remember thinking, Lenoris is like those kind of dimensions, but there's no, I don't think KJ Jefferson would have been probably half that body fat roughly at that measure. And to see what Sellers is, as you guys know, I mean, great player on the field, terrific runner, But just to be that big and that lean, I think that was really what surprised me. I know he's a terrific player. He's a terrific athlete, and we talked about him before. He's an awesome kid too, super smart. But the body fat number really, that was like, okay, because usually anything under 10%. I mean, we're not talking about a receiver. We're not talking about a DB. We're talking about a very big quarterback to be that lean.
I was looking at Marlon Klein, the Michigan tight end. Like, if he has decent ball skills, like he looks like he could be every bit of Colston Loveland for the Wolverines this year. However, you also mentioned redshirt freshman running back Michael Capana. But the real question is, what is the Michigan reactive plyo stare record?
So I will, after we're off, I will send you the video of this. So in recent years in Freaks List, the Michigan staff has been really good. They've sent me a lot of the videos of what these guys are doing. And so the staircase, it's almost like jumping on probably
like the big box jump staircase they have.
Yeah, exactly. And
Ben
so
Herbert's stupid stuff that he comes up with, even though he's in LA now.
Yeah, but they still kept all that stuff. So this guy is just pogoing up this, just rocketing up there. And the old record was 2.19 seconds. That was Roman Wilson, or 2.22 was the old record, and he beat it by 3/100ths of a second. And it's impressive. You can see how excited all the other players are. They kind of knew this guy probably was going to break it. And we'll see how he, he's a younger back from Hawaii. He's not the biggest guy, but he's certainly pretty dynamic to do what he did there.
No, you're doing those things. You're pretty good. I know it's easy to say the craziest speed number is whoever, like Jeremiah Smith, who's like 23.5. But was there a speed number because of maybe who the guy was that was like more impressive than that you got from anybody?
That like Nick Harbor, who was number one the last couple of years, is 23.6. And he's an even bigger guy.
It's dumb, by the way.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, also 5% body fat. Like 245 pounds and 6'5". That's pretty insane. To me, the speed number that kind of was a triple take. Amari Washington is a defensive tackle for Oregon. Obviously, our friend Dan Lanning has seen a lot of freaky D linemen from his time, especially in the SEC, as has Tosh Lupoy, the DC there. This guy is 6'3", almost 340 pounds, and hit 20.89 miles per hour. He vertical jumped 36 inches. That's crazy.
Yeah,
Lanning said he feels like he's ready to take that next big step. Those numbers have to translate on the field now for this guy, though.
Do you know if Logan Jones won the Beef Days hay bale toss? Because that's the most impressive thing he could get.
He did not. It was funny because, I saw him a couple of weeks ago. We talked about, Freaks List and the jump, because he was not – some of these guys were high school wrestlers at Iowa. He wasn't. He was a basketball player, and told me he first started dunking when he was about 6'1", which as a guy who was wasn't like he was 6'1", 180 pounds. This isn't Cooper DeJean out there. He was that was another benchmark for Freaks List stuff in the past, especially for Iowa guys. He did not do it. Some of his teammates did, but he was disappointed to say he did not beat Tristan Wirf's hang clean record, which was like 500 pounds there. He was like, I hurt my hand. I only got 470.
500-pound hang clean? Excuse me? I don't think people realize how dumb that is.
That's just so dumb.
That's ridiculous. Bruce,
Cue the hardos, though, in the back. They're like, he probably did it with straps.
I don't care. If you did, it's fine. It's still ridiculous to be able to do that. That's insane. Bruce, it's always fun, man. We love this article. We love these stories about these guys. You do a great job with it every year. We shared it from the Mac and Cube account. People can go see it there. Thanks for hopping on today.
Always a pleasure, guys. Take care.
Sir.
Thanks.
There you go. Bruce Feldman joining us on the Higginbotham Hotline talking Freaks List. And you can there's so many of these that you could keep going on. Sonny Styles, Ohio State linebacker. A quote from DB or him quoting about DB Britton Jones, 6'2", 205, former walk-on, said he runs around 23 and has an 11-foot broad jump and verts 40. So Britton Jones, Ohio State, maybe keep an eye on him.
I think that's
breaking out this year.
What's funny is I feel like we look at the numbers every year, and this always comes out. And I always look forward to this article. Bruce does a great job with it and gets a lot of information. You can absolutely be misled. There's no denying what you do in a quote freakish type of situation does not always necessarily lead to great play.
Well, look at Anthony Orji's
There's
quarterback
a
numbers.
million examples of that, I feel like the numbers get more ridiculous every year.
There's no doubt.
Every year, it's like, all right, well, that was impressive last year. Hold my beer. It's like insane how they just get more athletic every year. It's wild.
The two that really stuck out to me, Eli Stowers, we know what a great pass catcher he is, but a 39-inch vert at 6'4", and he was running over 21 miles an hour. How are you covering the guy? And then, I'm really anxious to see this dude from Toledo now. If he has just halfway decent ball skills, CC Ezerum, 6'7", with a, what was it, Stacey? His vert was 30-something? 38? 39-inch vert? Yeah, I got to see this dude play football. Because if you're 6'7", and you can jump 39 inches, we are lobbing you the ball in the red zone every time.
Wherever you want it.
Just
it doesn't need to be in the red zone.
Float it and hope that a safety's not anywhere near there, and we're good. So always a fun list, always cool to talk to Bruce about it. It's always cool to stop into your CBD store as well because they have multiple products that can help you in multiple ways. If it's a better night's sleep, if it's waking up feeling energized, better focus throughout the course of the day, your CBD store can help you today. A lot of different ways that they can help and that they want to help. 3 locations to help you out as well. Highway 280 by Baylor Brothers, 150 by the Cajun Cleaver, Trustful just off 459. The largest brick-and-mortar CBD retailer in the world. Arthritis, anxiety bothering you or your pet, they can help with that. Gut health, skin care, they can help you there at your CBD store. First company of USDA certified organic oil supplements. They've got the stamp seal on those products. Go check them out today and tell them you heard about them right here on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, we'll come back with more SEC injury notes, other injury notes from around college football, and a couple commitments we need to discuss next on Mac and Cube in the morning. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. Some other injury news and other notes from around the SEC, around college football. 2026 wide receiver Jace Matthews commits to Auburn, number 2 wide receiver in the 2026 class. So the Auburn recruiting woes look like they're taking a little bit of a turn up here. Florida wide receiver Dallas Wilson, lower leg injury. We mentioned that a little bit earlier. UCLA got a commitment from Rice defensive lineman Jalen Hargrove. So he has committed. It's weird, some of the portal news that's coming out.
So wild.
You have a couple of guys that are announcing where they're going to go, like Michigan, Columbia linebacker Rocco Melia, 6'2", 225 pounds, 49 tackles last year. They get a commitment from him. Michigan also announced over the weekend, Greg, I don't know if you saw it, that they're going to hold tryouts this week. But we're getting rid of walk-ons, but we need guys to come play.
Hey, more the merrier.
You down on Michigan?
I'm not down on Michigan. I think they're going to be fine.
Okay. Also, running back C.J. Hester announcing that he will enter the portal from Michigan. 119 carries, 529 yards, 4 touchdowns last year.
You worried about that one?
Just, I don't know. You're having tryouts. You're getting linebackers from Columbia, and you're losing the running back to the portal. It just didn't feel like a great weekend for Michigan football.
Fair.
But, okay. Tennessee wide receiver Chris Brazel arrested for driving on a suspended license over the weekend. So, Tennessee's got that going for them. And Notre Dame gets a commitment from 4-star defensive lineman Elijah Golden, 6'4", 272 pounds from Virginia. Marcus can recruit.
No doubt about it.
I don't think that's anything that anybody has a real concern about. And finally, before we go to our last break, John Gruden saying over the weekend he wants to coach again.
Yeah, how do you feel about that?
You said it last week when we talked about Jimbo.
Coach is coach.
This is what these guys do.
Coach is coach.
There's not really a big surprise, but that's what they do.
Do you think like there's a real chance that he would get hired? I mean, he says SEC specifically. Like, do you think that's a real shot?
Yeah, I think there's a couple schools that if they had the opportunity to bring him in, would absolutely look at that and say, that can help our profile. He obviously knows the game, could probably put a good staff together. We'll take that chance. We will absolutely take that chance. So we'll see. It feels like a lot would have to go right for that to take place, but
wouldn't rule it out though.
No, I definitely wouldn't rule it out.
I mean, you look at if Bill Belichick's coaching the North Carolina Tar Heels, and it's become a age of splash and sizzle and getting the boosters fired up and engaged, I think John Gruden would serve that role admirably.
Yeah. I think that, like I said, there's a couple SEC schools that I could see if that opportunity presented itself, they would absolutely take advantage of it. But are they going to be going out and pursuing him in favor of what they have now? Probably not. But if it were, hey, we're in a little bit of a desperate situation, wondering which way to go, I could definitely see that one taking place. Yeah, for sure. So we'll see if that's kind of where it goes. We'll move on to our bad box score of the day on the other side. But if you're looking to move out of your home, Greg, into a new home, who should you call?
That'd be Crocker Moving Search. They're a local company owned by an Iraq War veteran, Eric Crocker. Crocker believes in hiring movers you can trust to complete full background checks and run drug tests on every single employee. These are good guys. You can trust them in your home. They did your whole home packed up and move, your company headquarters moved across country, or you just want them to come rearrange your living room. These guys got you covered. They also do deliveries for furniture that you've purchased and need to get to your home. So call or visit them online today for a free quote. The website's crockermovingservices.com. That's crockermovingservices.com. Support your veterans by choosing Crocker Moving Services for your next move.
All right, get to a break. Come back. I have one bad box score of the day. We'll get to it next right here on Jox. All right, welcome back in. McElroy and Cubelic in the morning. If you want to get to the Jox kickoff party, Damian, tell our listeners how they can do it.
I'll take care of that, Cole. Actually, if you want to go and enjoy some time out at the Bear and celebrate the kickoff to college football with us at the Bill Smith Buick GMC Jox kickoff party at Regions Field on Thursday, August 21st. And the only way to get a pair of tickets is to text the keyword SCORE and your full name to 205-834-9450. That's SCORE and your full name to 205-834-9450. Winners are drawn and notified daily. For more info, visit joxfm.com.
All right, quickly, bad box score of the day. We'll go to the Elf League. Playoffs are set, by the way. I'll get to that schedule in just a moment.
Boy.
The Paris
Mercenaries.
No.
Parisians.
Musketeers just snuck past the Helvetic.
They're the Mercenaries.
They are the Mercenaries.
There it is.
They're also winless on the season. They're 0-11 now. Paris gets a 7-4 with a 77-0 win on
What was it?
Saturday. 77 for one team, 0 for the other team. Also, more interestingly, your score at the end of one quarter, 34-0.
Well, they got better defensively after that.
Your score after at halftime, 63-0.
Okay, so only 14 points allowed in the second half.
You know what we know is that Paris's head coach is not good.
Nope.
The defense
Because
coordinator
they
is.
scored 63 in the first half, and they scored 14 in the second half.
Defensive coordinator's good.
Yeah, he allowed only 14 in the second half.
There we
That's,
go.
Yeah, that's
See?
solid.
And they only threw for 144 yards.
Oh, boy.
Oh, you
Now-
gotta watch that tape.
Helvetic threw for 29.
The next day.
They were only outrushed
Hidden yardage.
264-18 on the day.
That's really not a lot of yards to score 77 points.
short
Not the
fields.
best.
A lot of short fields. What's the turnover margin?
Well, Paris was just 9 for 9 in the red zone.
I would hope.
Yeah, they controlled the ball for 32 minutes of the game.
How long are their quarters?
Long enough. Paris was only 0-11 on third down as well.